Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. And if you're a Tottenham Hotspur fan right now, tell me how many times you've refreshed or scrolled through some form of Sky Sports, Fabrizio Romano. Yes, I'm smiling because I'm hoping that the news is that this man has been sacked. I will start as I mean to go on. I will be grinning like a Cheshire cat for weeks and weeks. Look what we've done. We've assembled. Look at this YouTube royalty that we've assembled here. Absolutely top crowd for you tonight. The headline is that today more and more reputable sources are leading with the line that Ange Postecoglou is leaving Tottenham. Now, we don't know that for sure. There are now lots of arguments and debates in WhatsApp groups, on X, on Instagram, on Reddit, on Facebook, everywhere. Those that want him to stay, those that want him to go. And then the argument is quickly moving towards, who do you want in? No, I don't want him, and he's not better than him, and his ceiling's better than him. We're going to talk about it all. First of all, welcome to the Danlists. Welcome to Luke, Spotlight on Spurs. Welcome to Lubo of every channel out there. Welcome to Sean Butler from the Spurs Talk Show. Welcome to Johnny H from everywhere. Johnny, just everywhere is the man. And welcome to Chris, Spurs CC as well. Guys, I won't do the how are we alls because we'll be here forever. Anyone can start. I don't want to do a round robin. Does anybody believe that Ange Postecoglou is leaving the club tomorrow when Daniel Levy's annual leave expires and he's back at Tottenham? Take it away.
Yeah, I've gone for my scarf here in the hope of a glorious double and two of the best days of my Spurs support in life within 2 weeks. Bilbao and Ange leaving. I can't wait.
Mate, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
I thought you meant that, Chris.
Well, I haven't got one of them. I need to get one of them as well. But at the moment, my Levy stock, my Levy share price is rising at the moment. I tell you.
Is it? Well, Sean's got one of these. Have a word with him after the show.
So I'm guessing then. I mean, do we? Guys, seriously, do we believe it? There's the question. Before we get into the ins and outs of it all, does anyone believe that this is true? It's starting to come from more and more sources now that they're hearing he has left the building, so to speak. And what I'm hearing from a few people is that what Levy wanted to do was take a bit of time, let the celebrations die down, let the holiday commence so he can have a bit of time to think about it. Does anyone believe that is true?
There's no smoke without fire in my eyes. I mean, it's definitely more likely than it was a couple of days ago.
And are you okay about it, Luke?
Depends who the replacement is. I'm not against him going. I'm not against him going. I just want to make sure that when the next person comes in, that we go into the levels that we need to do, because everyone is in agreement that we need to go and get better players. And as long as we get someone that can bring them better players, bring Champions League sort of quality, then I'm okay with it. But they have to be of a certain level, in my eyes.
Can I ask you a question, Luke, just before we move on to someone else? But surely the caliber of players being brought in, that sits with Daniel Levy rather than with the manager, right?
Oh, here we go. Fucking him already, are we? Jesus Christ.
No. But it's true, right? Levy and Paratici are going to be the ones that bring in the better players, right? So if you're looking at it on that front, Luke, surely you want a coach to come in who can actually coach the level of players. Like we're seeing Angel Gomez, Tyler Dibbling, Matisse. We're seeing players. These are not Champions League footballers. So surely you need a coach that can coach them, right?
Yeah, you need to. Obviously, we need to have a decent coach. But the problem for me is that we need to go up levels. This squad needs to level up. You're right. Obviously, that falls on the recruitment team and everything else. But when you start targeting big players, they want to be able to know what your project is, who your manager is, and everything else. And I still don't think some of the managers that we're being linked with, I don't think they're the level. Like if you're a Leroy Sané who's at Bayern Munich challenging for Champions Leagues, and then Marco Silva's, I don't think he's going to be like, yeah, I want to go and work under him. He's the sort of manager that's won things and things like that.
Is Ange?
He's won something. If you ask me that question, if you ask,
not what I asked. Is Ange? If you are, let's use your example. If I'm Leroy Sané, am I looking at Ange Postecoglou and going, "That's the guy"? His team have just lost 26 games in a season. Is that the guy they're looking at?
He's probably not going, "That's the guy" in terms of next season. But if you just appoint a manager now, you're expecting that manager to be around for a couple of years at least. So I think, and as I say, the facts are is that he's got over the line.
Studio.
So
nothing.
Johnny, can you hear us? Johnny,
we can hear you, Johnny.
No, there's no volume. There's no volume here.
Mute him. I'll call him. Mute him. I'll call him.
Oh. Sorry, Luke. As you were. Sorry, mate. Sorry, go on.
No, yes. As I say, he's got over the line. So I think that if we're getting rid of him, that's absolutely fine. But there has to be levels to getting rid of him. There's no point getting rid of him and then bringing in someone who's going to do an half decent job. That we need someone that's going to come in and do a much better job. And after coming in, and if we get someone that comes in and finishes 8th, that's not really going to. I don't think that's going to sit well with the fans. They might want it 17. Now because but there's a trophy. And that's what I think is going to happen. I literally think we're in a state where so many people want rid of Ange so much that they'll take anything that comes along. And then if we then get to next year and we're 8th and we've gone out of all competitions, and they're all going to sit there and go, well, this isn't what we thought it was going to be. We thought we were going to be a top 6, top 5, whatever, challenging here, there, and everywhere. So that's my personal opinion.
Okay. Anyone else?
Look, what a madness of a club, eh? What a madness of a club. That's what I've got to say. I mean, look, we're talking Savva on Friday, weren't we, about, the fans needing to know what's going on. And we're all waiting here. And look, there must be something going on, guys. It's too much speculation for something not to be happening. Now, you all know where I stand with Ange. I'll be very happy for the change. But again, until I see official confirmation from something, I don't want to get too drawn into it. But the signs are good. Thomas Frank, respectable manager, has done a great job at Brentford. I would take him all day long over Ange. All day long. The season's not been good enough in the league. 22 defeats. And look, I want that to happen. I mean, Frank wouldn't be my first choice, but I'm more than happy to take him on. He'll come in. He'll bring us some stability. He improves plays, good coaching, knows how to defend, knows how to attack. And I think Frank, he deserves the chance, kind of move up to a bigger club. And look, I'll be fully behind that appointment if it happens, guys.
Okay. So, anybody else? I mean, has anyone got a different view? I mean, listen, it's interesting because you got Dan saying, "Yeah, get me in Frank. He's done a great job at Brentford." You got Luke saying, "Well, hang on, is a manager of that ilk like him and Silva? Are they going to be able to attract players?" I mean, Lubo, Chris. I mean, what players that we're linked with, Lubo? I mean, any manager can attract them, right? At the moment, I'm seeing we're linked with Gomez, Carl Walker-Peters, Tyler Dibbling. I mean, Eze, but Eze, yeah. I mean, Eze would
Eze want to leave? Would Eze want to leave when he's got Glasner there, who I think we probably all agree is probably a better manager than Frank? Would he want to leave Palace, who have probably got a half a realistic chance of Europa League possible success if they play well? Got Glasner in there, who's won it previously.
He wouldn't leave that for Champions League football and for Tottenham, who are a bigger club, paying more money.
That's
right, but this year,
point though, isn't it?
But I'm saying for more. It's not just this year, is it? I said this in a group recently. It's like if you're a big term player and you're a big time player who wants to play Champions League regularly, you look at the 2-3 year plan, don't you? So would he want to leave? Would he want to leave and go to Spurs, who he might look at and think, well, Frank's never done. Isn't Frank ever had European football? How is he going to be able to? Is there any guarantee Spurs are Champions League next year? Is there any? Do you know what I mean?
Eddie Howe didn't have European football when he was at Bournemouth or Brighton.
Yep. Yeah. We could
Burnley, Bournemouth or Burnley. And
on the Eze point, though, are we really pushing forward an argument that Eze is going to look at Tottenham and go, well, I'll join if Ange is manager, but I won't join if Frank is manager? Really? Doesn't stack up for me.
Why?
It's about winning stuff. That's what the big players want to do.
What are we winning? So what are we winning next year, Luke? What's the aim to win next year?
I'm not saying. What I'm saying is, if you've got a manager that can get over the line, and at the moment there's no proof that Frank can do that. I like Frank. I really like Frank. I just don't think he fits with our club, and I think that again it will be the 80.
What, the club that's won one trophy in 17 years? Now all of a sudden everyone who comes in's got to have won a trophy.
No, but the fan base have expectancies in terms of the way we play. I don't think fans will be that happy about constantly changing formations to suit other teams and things like that. I think fans will get on his back. I think now.
I must tell you, Luke. Sorry, can I answer? I must tell you, Luke. I travel away, and all I hear from everybody all through this season is how shocking it is and how fed up they are, and they're spending all day going out watching rubbish. I mean,
I agree.
This is hardcore. These are the hardcore people that just keep going, whether it's habit, whether it's in their blood, whatever it is. They keep going, and people are really sick of watching this football.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it.
Really
I think that's part of it. I think everyone, well, not everyone, obviously, but most people are just in such a thing with Ange is that it's anyone will do, and that's what I think it is. And then eventually it'll get to a point.
Frank listen, we're using Frank's name because he's the bookie's favourite, right? And I'll bring up the bookie's favourites in a minute. And then what will happen is when I do that, Chris will tell me off for everything I say because he works in betting. So everything I say wrong, he'll go, no, actually, it means this. But when we're looking at Frank, Silva, these managers are very good coaches. And I don't understand the point, Luke, that any fan would be annoyed at their manager adapting to the opposition. Isn't that exactly what we want from a manager? To adapt to our opponents and not be so one-dimensional? Isn't that the downfall of Ange Postecoglou? Is that we just do one thing?
It's again that we go from one extreme to another. So Ange he has been adapting to from his tactics. They have changed, but they haven't changed to a sufficient standard. But I think that we're going, well, we need change. You need to be able to be flexible. You need to be able to do this. But if we then go to the other extreme, Frank will constantly adapt. It will be in-game changes from one game to another. You won't know whether we're playing this formation, that
Isn't
formation.
that good?
And I'm not saying that it's not good. I'm saying I don't think the fans will get on it. I think that they'll sit there and start saying, no. When we're playing Everton at home, we shouldn't be adapting to fit them. We should just be playing the way we want to play, pushing, going forward, getting it. So maybe if he goes to a bigger club with better players, maybe he adapts less. But I think that, again, it's one of them where at the moment it's let's just take whoever we can. And then after 6 or 7 months, people are going to be like,
Look, I don't think that's fair. Take whoever we can. Who says that? I've not heard that.
Well, we're targeting managers that are, if you look at the top 20, 25 clubs in the world, if any one of them loses their manager, then the managers that we're currently looking at as probably favourites like your Frank. Frank's not going to be favourite for any of them jobs. So I think we're just sitting there saying that he's a good manager, no doubt about it. I'm not saying he isn't. And maybe he can go on and go to the top level. Everyone needs that chance. But I don't think it will fit. I don't think it will work. I think
can I ask why? Sorry, before anyone else comes in, everyone I'm speaking to today, I asked this question. When they talk to me about Frank, all I hear is he's not won a trophy. What tactically is he not good at, which it means it wouldn't work? Because he's done a sensational job in his career. He's done a pound for pound. He's the best manager in the Premier League this year from points to salary. Mm-hmm. So why would he not do a good job with a better squad at Tottenham? We've got better defenders than Brentford, better midfielders. Why would he not do well? Why is it not a good fit?
As I said, I think that again, if he goes to a bigger club, it was the same with Eddie Howe at Bournemouth. When he was there, they were absolutely dreadful at defending. They were poor. They were so bad. Then he goes and gets Newcastle, who have got a better standard, and he's changed the tactics. And obviously, they're having a solid. But you probably say that they're defensively very, very good. So I'm not saying he can't. I'm saying in the way I see it, I think that from a tactical point of view, his focus is how does he nullify an opposition, and I think fans will eventually not like that sort of.
But that's the players he's got, isn't it? It's the players he's got.
Ethan Pinnock and Ben Mee.
Yeah, it might be. But that's what I'm saying. I can't say that. Oh, if he gets better players, he doesn't carry on doing that because that's what he's done. His whole career has been He's been tactically changing from one week to the next, bringing in different sorts of players. So what I'm saying is he might do that at Spurs, and because it's a better caliber of player, the way that he's ceiling increases. But it could be that he keeps swapping and changing all of the time, and it doesn't work, and then fans start getting on his back for constantly swapping and changing. That's what I think personally what will happen.
So you'd rather keep Ange than get him, yeah?
I think we should be targeting, if we're getting rid of him, I think we should be targeting the names that we mentioned earlier. I think Glasner would be a great fit. I think Xavi. And I'm not saying this isn't the case because it might be. I don't know how Frank is at nurturing the 17, 18-year-olds. He seems to go for more experienced.
I mean, Glasner.
No. Homework. Got to do your homework if you're going to come out with comments like that, Luke. This is a man whose background is the Denmark under 16s, 17s, 18s, 19s. This is a guy that's brought in young players like Damsgaard, Keane Lewis Potter, Michael Coyote, Vandenberg, got them all into the team, got them all playing well.
They're all early 20s. When he brought them in, they're early 20s. We're talking about Mikey Moore should be playing more games. So I'm talking the real young players that we keep saying should be playing games. I'm not saying he's not. I was asking the question. I don't know. What I'm saying is when I look at the Brentford squad, I don't see a 17-year-old, an 18-year-old playing that regular. I don't see that.
Can I pivot into just another sort of consideration here? Like Tottenham for the longest time have been someone that the fan base have been begging for Daniel Levy to let go of the purse strings and become a little bit more resource laden, right? Like let's get a bit more risk on. Let's try and compete with the bigger boys. And I feel like right now, given what's just taken place, given the fact that the books will look incredible next year, we won't find out until about March 2027. But because of our doubling of the non-match day events, because of the Champions League revenue, because of the Super Cup, because of yada, 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 we're sudden, and also because of the work that's been done in the transfer windows in the last 18 months, where we don't need to get rid of so much deadwood, we might be in a situation where we only need 3, 4, 5 players to make our squad incredibly better, and we have the budgets to be able to go out and make some marquee signings. Maybe not all this summer, but over the next 2 summers. Thomas Frank is a manager who has, for the longest time, been rewarded and recognised for his ability to be a resource-restricted, kind of getting the best juice from the squeeze. And I just wonder whether we put the cart before the horse a little bit here. And like everything at Tottenham, it's a little bit of a square peg in a round hole. If Thomas Frank is the guy, couldn't or wouldn't he have been a better guy 2 or 3 years ago when money was tighter? And now it's the sort you don't necessarily want to have to go to a guy that can get, that can go out there and maybe help with the benefit of data. And let's also not give Thomas Frank all of the value of that. Brentford's data model is a lot of that help, right? There's been a lot of help in that regard. Are we not maybe making the mistake here of going for a guy that maybe is more of Daniel Levy's typical sort of manager, just when we're starting to move into the world where we can dare to dream to get a couple of better players like the likes of Jay?
Hang on, let me cut you off there, Sean. But again, look at all the players Spurs are linked with this summer. Right? Look at all the names being bandied about. Angel Gomez, Tyler Dibbling. People want to sign.
Everett Eze, Leroy Sané.
Hang on.
David.
Sean, let me finish, man. Come on, man. Be fair, right? You look. Well, Mark Guehi, all the reports today is that he doesn't have any interest in coming to Tottenham. He's got bigger offers than Tottenham Hotspur, which I would assume, right? But we're talking about Kyle Walker-Peters. We're talking about Tyler Dibbling. We've got fans who want Matisse Tell to sign. We're talking about Angel Gomez. If these are the types of players we're signing, you need a coach that's going to coach them. And at the moment, the problem we've got is we don't have a coach. We've got let's be fair, whatever you want to say, Sean, about Ange, the guy can't coach. The guy isn't, he can't adapt in game. He doesn't coach any of the youngsters better. So if we're not buying...
My point was about the moving of the needle with regards to the attraction of better players that don't really require like a resource restriction manager who's used to working on peanuts. And the point is, I know you've named a couple of players there, but there's also loads of players that Tottenham have been linked with that are more on the marquee side. So my only point wasn't about like the coaching. Well, like Mark Guehi, for example, Everett Eze, Leroy Sané, right? But
which window is that not true in though?
There's loads of players that are being linked with us right now, right? There's we're being linked with all and sundry. Maybe not necessarily all of them have legitimacy, but I'm just saying that, if we're talking about links, we have to talk about all of them, not the ones that fit the narrative. And to me, I'm just saying that
Yeah,
if
the
Tottenham are
realistic
getting
links,
to,
but the realistic
hang on, if
links.
Tottenham are getting to
Spurs
the
aren't
point,
going to get Eze and Garcares in one window, are
if
we?
Tottenham are
Like,
getting but we're heavily linked with Sane and got and Eze, right? And just because Sane's free, he's not free in terms of salary, is he? So like, all I'm saying is that are we now we're getting towards that world, hopefully, where all of the off the field stuff is starting to nurture into big revenue back in the Champions League, and we don't need to go and spend 20 million pound on 8 players. We can go and hopefully spend 50, 60, 70, 80 million pound or whatever spread across 3 or 4. And so on that basis, are we, my only point was that is Thomas Frank just not a great fit in regards, he's a better fit for a team that has very, very limited resources, and Tottenham aren't that anymore. So I just wonder whether or not this is the right fit.
On the link, Sean, that happens every window. Last summer it was Gallagher, and it was Eze, and it was Neto, and it was Tony. That happens every single window.
And then we never get. Yeah, but the links to one side. Can we all agree that Tottenham should be in a financial, like, very strong position over the next 12 months because of the fact that last season we only dropped our revenue by 5% when we had the fewest games in the history of our club versus the year before when we were in the Champions League. This season, we've just qualified. We're going to get the Champions League money. We have doubling of non-match day events, each of which creates 3 million, 4 million pound a year in revenue. We have a lower wage bill than ever before relative to our revenue. So that all of the signs point to hopefully a Daniel Levy that may be a little bit more. I mean, who knows whether we will or won't be, but I'm just saying, is it not a possibility that we're transitioning into a new version of us, and that Thomas Frank is a better version for a previous version of us?
If Levy did what you're saying, I'll tell you what, if Levy went out this window, right, and brings in Mark Guehi in defence, Eze in midfield, and Garcares up front, first and foremost, right, I'm not going to say anything I would do again. It'll fly around the internet and I'll be held to it, right? But do you know what? I'll have a Levy shirt there instead of this sign for a year. Second of all, this is the problem, Sean. If we don't do that, and we do have one of these windows where it's Carl Walker-Peters, Angel Gomez, Tyler Dibbling, then surely you do need the coach rather than the big name, and you do need somebody that can... Because my biggest thing with Ange Postecoglou is we've got all of these younger players, and I don't think any of them, other than Bergvall, have actually developed. Like, none of them have...
Coach, is he? He's not a coach. He's not a coach.
Johnny.
I mean, look, can I just say, before I get cut off again, so I think my next door neighbour, I think they've fed up with me streaming today, and they've decided I've had my quota trying to cut me off. I was just going to say, before I go, I don't know where you are or where you're, so I apologise if I'm going over it again, but I remember I was sat at Spurs when Eddie Howe had left Bournemouth. And he was at Spurs as a guest of Daniel Levy, and he was in the box, and fans saw him, and all I could hear was, fuck, no way. We don't want that Eddie Howe coming here. I mean, what a joke, right? What has he ever done? What has he ever done for Bournemouth? What has he ever won? Won nothing, done nothing, right? Don't want him at this club. You know, like, I think the narrative here is being replicated, because we saw Eddie Howe go to Newcastle and do very well. There was definitely a consensus of opinion that the Saudis come in with big money. They'd want to get rid of Eddie Howe and bring in a proper manager, as a lot of the press declared. And so far, he's still there. And I'm not saying that Thomas Frank is my number one, but I can tell you, regardless of what you lot all think, and people in the chat, in football, where it counts, not YouTubers, not me, not all of us chatting shit, right? Is he not respected, right? He is highly respected as a coach and as someone who understands football and his tactics. Second of all, what we need at this club, and what we haven't had for the last 2 years, we haven't had a coach. What we've had is a philosopher and a guy who talks the game but leaves it to others to install the tactics. I mean, tell me one. The thing that I find the most baffling about Ange Postecoglou, when you look around the world, some of the top coaches around the world, whether it be Ancelotti, whether it be Pochettino, or whether it be Nuno, you go through them all. Most of them have a team or a core. Antonio Conte have a team of people with them that they carry around the world that go with them, whether it be a fitness coach, whether it be a coach per se, set piece coach. They have a whole team, okay? but they're also hands-on. You know, although they have this, they're hands-on the training ground. We got a manager, or we've had a manager called Ange Postecoglou, who is not hands-on, who sits on the sideline, and yet, what does he do? He brings in two coaches from Hibs, who got the sack from Hibs, to come in, and their job is to learn what sorry, get knackered. He has to learn what Ange's system is. Now, I'm not being funny. Like, why are they coming to us to learn Ange's system so then they could then tell the players? Why aren't we bringing in people who understand exactly what he wants, not people who have to learn anything? And listen, we know that Davis, who was there last season, who was a top coach, again, highly rated. What's he ever done? What's he ever won? Yet he got the job at Birmingham. And, he had a very good season. That when he left, our coaching would drop off a cliff, because there we have a guy who's done it and is deemed to be very successful, as opposed to two guys in Montgomery and his sidekick who aren't. And we found ourselves this season with Ange looking from afar, and these two guys, I call them clowns. I mean, I don't care, right? I watched them on the training ground, on the pitch before the warm-up, and I see them walking around with their hands in their pockets. I just don't get it. What we need is a professional setup, a coach who sits there and trains them and coaches them. And I can tell you, you look at Oliver Glasner at Palace, he's come in. Mateta couldn't hit a barn door, and now he's smashing it. He looks at Ismail Sarr, right, who started his career very strongly, fell off a cliff, and he's got him playing well. He's got Manuz, who's coming, who's playing out of his skin. He's got Eze taking up positions which he never took up before. He's got youngsters that he's got coming through. Richards, he got rid of Anderson for 35 million and identified Lacroix from Wolfsburg to bring him in. This is a top coach. We don't have a coach, and so whoever it is, we can't do this experiment of a guy who talks the game but doesn't deliver. Yes, he delivered us a trophy, but let's be honest, right? Let's take that away from the schedule and look at the stats from that final, and just see that Spurs has been a shit show all season. And for me, I said to Sean, when I heard him turn around and say, "Lubo, you should be in with me on this," when I heard that he said he gave up the league in January, when you and I drag and slap ourselves all the way across the fucking country, up and down, here and there, to hear the bloody manager tell you, "Well, we weren't bothered, mate." Right? It's a fucking disgrace. He should be sacked just for that.
Johnny,
it was all shit, Johnny. That was crap, because we didn't play a European game for 5 weeks till March the 6th. And he won the first 3 games in Feb that we played. So, we were 8 points clear of Wolves, I think it was, who were 18th at the end of Jan. And then by the time we beat Ipswich, I think we're something like 16 points clear. So job done. I don't believe it for 1 minute. It's just excuse after excuse to cover his back. I mean, he must have looked at that league form and just thought, Jesus Christ, I don't think he's probably ever had as bad a season in terms of league results.
He has
didn't know how to stop it.
Listen, all I'm saying, guys, is that I see a lot of the stuff today. I see it on X and on the streams. This hate on Thomas Frank before he's even done anything. It's like people, he hasn't even been appointed yet, and there's massive hate out for him, right? And all I'm saying to you is, guys, he is a highly rated coach, whether you like it or not, and tactical nous. The amount of times he's got a very thin, concise squad, and when he loses players, what he's had to do numerous times is to change tactics. Now, because he's lost, whether it be lost Ollie Watkins or he's lost Ivan Toney and Buemo through injury or being sold. So what he's had to do, he's had to change his tactics. Now, when you're changing a whole complete system to accommodate what's happened when you've got a small squad to begin with, you're going to suffer the losses until they understand that system. And if you look back, you'll see he's changed it. They lost 2 or 3, 4 games, and then they get into the swing of this new system and they start winning again. It's about adapting. And that's something that this coach hasn't done. He's done it towards the end of his period in charge, whether it's been forced by injuries, which I would suggest it really is. Tarek Mitchell, he's improved massively. But the point I'm just saying here is that we're already condemning this guy. We don't even know he's coming. So give him a break.
Do you know the funny thing, Johnny, as well, is there are so many managers that are talked about like this. Like, have a look at Maresca. Maresca has come from the Championship, and in his first season has got top 4, and won a trophy, right?
Yeah.
We're hearing, if we're going to go by everybody's theory, right, that if they've not won a trophy, they're not good. What about when Harry Redknapp joined us, what he did for the club? What about what Pochettino did for the club when he joined? Right? What about Eddie Howe at Newcastle when he joined? What about Nuno, the job he's doing at Nottingham Forest?
Exactly.
He's not won a trophy or got over the line. How can these guys get over the line if every club in the world says, no, you're not allowed a chance? Like, I just think I'll pass it over to you guys now. I'm not going to die on a hill, guys. Whoever's in my WhatsApp group, you know this. I won't die on a hill for Thomas Frank. I'll take Frank. I'll take Glasner. I'll take Xavi. I'll take Holness. I'll take Iriola. I just want somebody that, like Johnny says, can come into the club and go, right, no one's getting the best out of you. I'm going to coach you and
Correct.
you and you and you. Back 4. Work with me for a summer. I'm going to make you a back 4 that know each other's runs, that know each other's movements. Midfield, I'm going to make you an actual midfield. You know, Ange hasn't done that. And everyone, Johnny, for me, is confusing a brilliant cup run, right, with being able to coach. There's 2 very different things, and he can't coach. This man can't coach.
Can someone tell me, actually, I've lost count. I lost count. I'd love to know how many permutations Ange Postecoglou has made in the midfield this season. Just keep it to this season, because I lost count in January. I'd love to know what it is now. He doesn't know he just doesn't know his best team. I don't think he's ever known it, to be honest.
He knows his back 4 and the keeper, and normally his front 3, but his midfield he's struggled all season.
He doesn't know what's what. He doesn't know what position they should be. You know, Sean and I have had this conversation. I love Bentancur, but I don't think he's a 6. And he's like, the players seem to be between a rock and a hard post. You know, we signed Archie Gray. You know, he's all over the place. He certainly hasn't coached Archie Gray this season to be a 6 or a midfielder, has he?
He needs a loan.
You know?
No, he didn't. Maresca did not spend 1.5 billion. What are we doing here? Maresca, what are we doing here? That would be one hell of a transfer.
Your calculator's gone wrong. I think your calculator's wrong. For a start, because a lot of that was spent under Poch and the previous one before him.
But can we go back?
I'm not on board, Thomas Frank.
Are you being frank?
Sure. Were you on board with Poch and Harry Redknapp and those guys?
I was massive in Poch.
So why were Poch and Harry Redknapp wanted, but Thomas Frank, who's literally doing the same thing,
not sexy?
Why is he not wanted?
I just don't think that the juice is worth the squeeze. The continuity is a risk. The change is a risk. There's a risk in all things in life, and I'm just sitting here thinking that in Thomas Frank, you have a lot of unknowns. You don't know what this guy is going to be like playing 2 games a week. You don't know what this guy is capable of trying to nurture, maybe bigger egos, right? Like, again, back to the point where I don't know if my point came across, but I think that Tottenham are going to start, I hope that Tottenham are going to start to transition their transfer policy into slightly bigger names, slightly bigger salaries, egos that come with all those things. And I think that Thomas Frank doesn't have, as far as I know, any experience handling any of those types of characters. Everything that he's done, he's been either handling children in Denmark or he's been handling somewhat relatively unknown players that have come into the Premier League, of which he's done a really good job. But for what it's worth, everyone gives this like, oh, he's a brilliant. Like, look what he did to Mbeumo. No one knew about Mbeumo before he came. Like, how do we know that Mbeumo wasn't just always going to be a monster that was down to Brentford's tax?
Because he's done it with loads of players. That's the difference, Sean. Because when you do it with all the players, it shows you're a great coach, doesn't it?
No, just say, Sean, can I just say on Mbeumo? Can I just say, I'll come back to you on Mbeumo. I'm just going to say on Mbeumo, when I saw him play for Brentford when he first turned up, I was really excited about him. And my mate said to me, yeah, but he needs to be coached. I said, what do you mean? I said, look how pacey he is. Yeah, his finishing's terrible. He panics, he snatches. He needs to be more clinical. And he has worked with him on his finishing. So that's all I had to say. So like a hands-on coach, he has improved Mbeumo, right? He didn't turn up as Brian Mbeumo. He turned up with a guy who was quick, right, but was raw and needed finessing.
I just feel like I remember this is exactly what the Newcastle fans were saying about Eddie Howe, and now 3.5 years later, Eddie Howe's got two Champions League finishes, 2 cup finals, 1 cup win. Eddie Howe, who hasn't worked with big names and big egos, is able to attract Alexander Isak, Sven Botman, Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali. I just don't know why it means because somebody hasn't. So who is the guy then, people? Who is the guy we'd be happy with then if we don't want a coach like Frank? Who do we want?
Well, Glasner will be my first choice.
Agreed.
I think because successful at Frankfurt, that was a great trophy win at Palace. You know, you wouldn't expect Palace to go right the way through, and you look at that semi-final lineup, and you're thinking, before the draw, the 3 clubs all want Palace. And Palace have come through and won it. And the other thing also is that we've got the players there that suit Glasner's back 3.
Agreed.
Massively. So for me, Glasner would be my first choice. I can imagine Steve Parish isn't going to be an easy person to deal with in terms of getting Glasner, if Glasner indeed wanted to come. But if it wasn't Glasner, Xavi for his work with kids, because I think we've got the best set of kids coming through, and I think it would be a terrible neglect on Tottenham's part if we didn't bring some of these kids through, because they've, as I'm sure you agree, Johnny, best set of kids for 30 years we've had coming through the academy.
Yeah, I mean, again, they reached a certain level, and it's up to that. There's no point bringing them to the Garden Gate, right, and then leaving them there, right? You have to bring them through the gate, take them into the park, and work with them. And that's what Pochettino was so brilliant at. I was a massive fan of Pochettino at Southampton, with his nurturing of that young talent. I think he got something like 5 Southampton players into the England team. So that for me was very exciting. But under the metric that people are using here, even then, why would we sign Pochettino? What has he done for Southampton? What has he ever won at Southampton? And to go back to your point, or whoever's point made, I think Pochettino, as much as a success we felt he was at Spurs and at Southampton with his development, when he got to PSG, he was a guy who really did suffer trying to deal with the big egos of Messi and Mbappe and Neymar. He really couldn't cope with that scenario. But I don't think Thomas Frank, if he was going to be the person, is going to have to deal with anyone of that caliber under.
Are you saying we're signing Lionel Messi this summer? No, is that what you're saying, Johnny? Messi's coming to White Hart Lane.
Yeah, I think it could get messy, but it ain't going to be Lionel.
It's an unknown, though. It's an unknown, right?
But people have said before, he managed people like Tony.
When you're asking the question, like based on what is the reason why people are not sure about Thomas Frank, for me, it's the unknowns of whether he can do it. I'm not saying he can't do it, and I won't hate it, by the way. If he comes in, I'll get behind it, get on board it, and I'll spend all day long figuring out what it is that he's brilliant at and where we can go. I'll get behind it all. But I'm just saying that I think there's a massive justification in the argument of, are you getting rid of, how do I say this? But for Daniel Levy, from Daniel Levy's perspective, he is damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. If he makes the change or if he sticks or twists, and we don't start the next season very well, he is in the mud regardless. The only way he gets out of this with any credibility at all is if he sticks or twists and we start the next season very well. But by the way, if we do start the next season very well, he won't get any credit anyway. It will just be well done for doing your job to him, and congratulations to either the new manager or to Ange. And the people that are currently Ange in will say, "See, I told you so," and the people that will be Ange out and the new guy coming in, see, it was a good idea. So Daniel Levy is doomed either way, 100%. But for me, if I'm Daniel Levy, I'm sitting there saying, what's the path of least resistance here? And the path of least resistance is to stick unless you can find someone that is an absolute conviction buy. And to me, Thomas Frank, there are unknowns regarding his suitability at this level. I'm almost finished. But one last thing. But if you can get a manager like an Oliver Glasner, and for what it's worth, if it's true that Inzaghi has had talks with Tottenham today and also Newcastle, if you can get him, great. If you can get Eddie Howe, if Newcastle do the unthinkable and decide to replace him with Inzaghi, which, by the way, is a TalkSport rumor, not something that I'm making up, then I'd be over the moon. There's other than that, maybe Xavi is, but there's unknown to Xavi, right? Premier League inexperience, English speaking. I'm not sure if he's got it. So there's risk everywhere. And I'm just saying with Thomas Frank, those people that are sort of going not sure. I think there's a justification.
Well, what's the bigger risk? Keeping Ange or getting a new manager?
Fucking keeping Ange. For me, it's keeping Ange. For me, it's keeping Ange.
Depends on who the new manager is, though, right?
The narrative is going to be...
Surely, if it's the coach... Sorry, just quickly, Johnny, this is what I wanted to ask you, Sean. Surely one thing we do know is that if... And again, the reason... I think people in the chat need to relax. The reason why Frank is the topic of conversation is because that is the man that all of the links are saying is the one that Spurs are speaking to. It's not me going... We must get Frank. I want Xavi. I want Glasner. I want Holness. There's loads I want before Frank. But Sean, surely we know this. If Frank was the guy, at least we know that come the first game of the season, we're actually going to be set up and look like a football team. We're not going to be wide open like Bonnie Blue. Do you know what I mean? We're going to actually look like a football team.
You leave my Bonnie alone.
By the way, just to be entirely clear, I am also Ange out. Like, I'm not sitting here saying I want Ange in. I'm just saying I'm not unconditionally Ange out. Like, if you were to offer me Ange out and the only person you can get is Sam Allardyce, I think I'd rather stick with Ange Postecoglou. But I'm just saying that I think that with Frank, people are asking the argument. What's the argument not to go for Frank or not to be on board it? I think there is a legitimate one.
In terms of looking at how a new manager would get on for the first 12 games of next season, Chris, let me ask you. You're in betting. Ange got 5 points from the last 12 games. What odds do you think you get on another manager getting more than 5 points out of 36?
I mean, it's going to be odds on, isn't it? Which is more than 50%. I mean, that's what betting is. Betting is using the data of the past to predict what's going to happen to the future, right? And based on Ange's performance over the last 20 months, you're not going to have a high degree of confidence that we're suddenly going to transform into a team that are playing well and winning games. I can't see it. So.
Can anybody name me the last manager that got 5 points from 12 league games?
Well, listen, look, he's gone. The thing is, Ian and
Dave from the Dog and Duck.
I'm just going to say, Sav, can you imagine what we're going to have here? Whoever comes in, all the Ange fans, Ange apologists. I can't call them Ange sexuals anymore. I got into trouble with that. So Ange apologists, right? They're going to level at him. Their first 10 games, Ange was unbeaten in the first 10 games. This new guy that's come in, he's only won 3. He's only won 4 games. He's worse than Ange. Ange had a better start than him. And that's what we're going to have for the first 10, 12, 15 games. Is going to be a comparison. Whoever comes in is not going to be afforded a blank canvas to start again, bearing in mind that this person can be taken on the Champions League, not Elfsborg and Karabag in the UEFA Cup. He's not going to be afforded to rest his players and play the kids in these games. It's going to be first team, more or less every week and handling injuries. I worry that the new manager, whoever it is, and I'm not saying it's going to be Thomas Frank, because I wouldn't be surprised with Fabio Paratici in there. We know he likes to spin 101 plates. There's other managers out there. There's Italiano. There's a whole host of managers in there that could come out of nowhere, but they have to be given a chance. I mean, Ange was never my first team. My first choice. He wasn't even in my top 10, but I gave him a chance. I gave him a chance,
He's gone, Ange has gone from unbeaten in the first 10 to 1 win in the last 10. And he's gone from Ange ball, it's who we are, mates, to sticking 11 men behind the ball to get, it's not who we are, mate, to win the Europa League. So he's
38 defeats since the 5th of November 2023. It's absolute
Johnny, 40, I think.
No, 38, mate. 38 since then.
No, it's got to be more. It's got to be more than that, Johnny, because he's lost 34 in the league alone.
Have a look. I'm sure it's 38. Well, 34 in the league.
34 in the league. Last year he lost to Man City in the cup. That's 35. This year he lost in the
36.
It's not good enough anyway, isn't it?
Either way, it's 38, 40
and
games.
He's lost four cup games this year.
What 4 cup games?
Well, he's lost Galatasaray.
He's lost Galatasaray, AZ Alkmaar. He's lost to Liverpool, and he's lost to Aston Villa.
Correct, 4. So there's 40. There's your 40.
No, it's
34 league games, 6 cup games.
Do you know what? It's 39. Who cares? 38, 39, 40. Whichever number it is disgusting, right? I'm sure we can all agree on that.
Sackable. That's it.
Look, but is there anyone that thinks this is nonsense, by the way? Because I'm a believer that, smoke and fire always go together, right, in some way. But that's not always the case. We started hearing last night a few murmurs. Then there was Football Insider today that everyone went, oh, that's a load of crap. Then we started getting a few more journalists that have got a bit more reputation saying, yeah, he's gone, and that Daniel Levy was waiting until he come back. And Daniel Levy is back, apparently working tomorrow. Tomorrow we could wake up and be told that Ange is staying, right? And all of this is just absolute nonsense, right?
Mate. I've just Henry just texted me, right? And I said, mate, do you remember the Dragosin thing back in January of 24? And he was like, what about it? I was like, do you remember when I just opened my eyes and like at 8 o'clock in the morning I peeked into like my phone on Twitter and I saw there was the Dragosin, here we go, and I jumped out of bed, shouted down to the cleaner and said, bring me up 3 cups of coffee and a bottle of Thatcher's, and went live, and there were like 2,000, like there's the number 1 stream I've ever done. And then Henry sort of jumped on and was like, redirect to me straight after this, then redirected to you after that. So I think that tomorrow morning is going to be one of those days. I think we all need to set our alarm clocks for like 6 a.m. because I think there's going to be an announcement out by about 9:30. I think there's going to be some.
I have my 10 a.m. show, so I'm hoping it's announced on my 10 a.m. show. But does anyone think this could be nonsense? So for example, if I show you a few things that I decided to bring up. Let me double check. So I think the first thing that we saw today was from Sacho Tavalieri, who's got a lot right. So everyone you bring up, people go, oh, he's not reliable. He's got a lot right. He's the first one that broke the Cunha news and the Kevin De Bruyne news. He's the one that said, today, told Tottenham have decided to sack Ange. Frank leading the race. Marco Silva is also on the list. Wait and see. I don't know. Then you've had Paul O'Keefe come out today and said, I'm told that there's no official communication has been made, but, and this is the big bit, guys, but that Daniel Levy has made a decision. What the decision is debatable. So we could wake up and he's here tomorrow, right? And all of this is nonsense, right?
That's covering all bases, isn't it, Savva?
Yeah.
And then he blocked Sean. For what? I've got no idea.
Oh, I heard about this. What did you do, Sean? Why are you upset?
In real time? No, I didn't even mention him. Well, we were just going on my stream earlier. Like we were doing a debate about Ange or whatever, and we were going through it all. And I had some tweets I was going through, and I pulled up that one that you just showed, right? And I just had it on the screen. But Ian Meth was explaining something, and then and whoever else was on there was coming back. I think Pete was having a back and forth with him. And so I never actually got to read out the tweet, but it was on the screen for about 5 minutes. And then all of a sudden it refreshed and it said, Paulo keeper's blocked you in real time on my screen. I was like, what? What did I do? We used to be friends, Paul. I used to DM
Let me know in
you.
the chat. Just say the word nonsense. If you think all of this is nonsense in the chat, that all of the rumours today, and you think Ange's staying, just write nonsense. If you don't think it's nonsense, say, I believe, right? I believe or nonsense. Let's start seeing a flood of comments. By the way, there are 1,001 people in here exactly and 213 likes. Guys, I want Harry Kane conversion rates. I do not want Dominic Solanke conversion rates. Can we smash that like button? Subscribe to everyone in here. And also, please do subscribe as well.
Mate. Tough crowd.
Really tough crowd. Really tough crowd. And the pinned subscribe is, the link to subscribe is pinned as well. Guys, there's been a lot of talk. I want to move this away from that. I'll start with you, Luke, and the analyst at the top there. There's been a lot of talk as well. There's lots of theories going around about Inzaghi, and obviously he lost the final yesterday, but he's mates with Paratici, and Paratici's working in the shadows, and apparently Newcastle have now spoke with him as well, which would leave it wide open for Eddie Howe. Inzaghi, how? Are we all just literally clutching at straws here, guys? What are we saying?
I mean, if Howe's available, then that's a no-brainer in it. As Sean was saying, you want to go with someone that you can get rid of all of the question marks, and Howe has got very little in terms of what he's done. So I think Howe, if he's available, then you almost just disregard everybody else in my eyes, and you go flat out for him. Inzaghi, gets linked with Spurs and ends up getting absolutely toasted in a final, which is typical. But I think if you've got either of them two available, and as everyone's already mentioned, I think Glasner as well. And I do like Xavi. I think if we're going the youth that we've got, I think them four are the kind of the standouts for me. I think if any of them are available, I think you should go and get them. But top pick would be Eddie Howe. If he's available, go and get him.
Yeah, top manager and he's analyst. He's done an unbelievable job on all fronts with Newcastle. He's done an unbelievable job.
Oh, of course, man. You take him all day long, any of those managers. But again, it's just we need to know what's going on, isn't it? Like, we're playing this waiting game. It's dragging on far too long. Hopefully tomorrow morning we'll get the news either way. But any of those managers you name there, Luke and Savva, yeah, I'll take any of them. Inzaghi, I would take him, but I'm not put off by him losing that final. I'm not. I think he's a good manager. Highly recommended. Eddie Howe, of course. Glasner, I'd pick him. Anybody, really, any of those names rather than sticking with Ange.
And I love this. Anybody. Absolutely.
Johnny touched on it as well about the coaching. We need to, if someone needs to come in, loads of things need to change. Like we can sound about Frank and recruitment. Their recruitment is absolutely bang on, and is not as good. The coaching that they're getting, as you said, about, it's not just obviously going to be Frank coaching. He's going to have other coaches in, and the fact I know you said about elite managers bring their own coaching staff. I think every manager does. It seems to be Ange is the only person that doesn't do it. So either he's onto something and everyone else is wrong. So I do think that's weird. So, but we need to there needs to be a coaching setup all brought in alongside him, because I do agree. I think some of the coaches are not up to standard. We need to get the recruitment right as well. So then there needs to be a little bit more than just, a manager comes in and everything's rosy. There needs to be a bit more into it.
Yeah. Chris, let me, I know that obviously you go home and away. You travel around the world watching Spurs. You've been thoroughly unimpressed. And for you, sorry, I'm paraphrasing here. You'll tell me if I'm wrong. For you, the win in Bilbao doesn't cover over the volume of losses. So where are you going next for the manager? Do you want it to be an Inzaghi and a Xavi who have got the name, probably got the pull, or do you want it to be more of a coach that works on a how do I say this politely? Works on a more shoestring budget with lesser quality players, so to speak.
I don't know if what I'm about to say is controversial or not, but
do it.
I'm less worried about the prospect of, is this manager going to win trophies? Like, we don't traditionally, right? I think it's more likely than not we're probably not going to win any over the next few years. So for me, why I'm so Ange out, like I genuinely don't think I've ever disliked a manager this much, because I have to go and watch this. Like every week, I submit like my time. I don't live that far from Tottenham, so it's not people do it much worse than me. But it's maybe a 3-hour round trip. It's obviously money, my season ticket, going away as well. Like same, I know Lubo says he got in at 4 a.m. from Liverpool. I got in at 3:30, and sitting there on such a regular basis. I'm not sure I've got the adjectives to describe it, but I mean, just disillusioned. And this is before the game starts. Like I've never gone to so many games expecting to be embarrassed and being right on such a regular basis. So for me, my primary thought is not who's going to win trophies necessarily. It's who's going to get me some enjoyment back at watching my team, because I can't personally. I get the trophies, but for me, it doesn't cover all evils. And I know what I've felt throughout this season, watching it week in, week out. And yeah, I love Bilbao. It was fantastic. But that doesn't undo all of the 9 months, more than 9 months, let's be honest, but the 9 months of this season that went before. So anyone that comes in who I can believe is going to make us more competitive and make us more entertaining, ideally, then I can subscribe to that. The only other thing I'd say on Ange as well is it's not just the football that I've completely lost faith in. I just don't like the guy. He doesn't, what he says, I can't believe in anything he says. He comes out and I don't recognise the game that I've just watched when he tells me that the players are outstanding. All stuff that I can't subscribe to. I don't want that in my manager.
Okay. Just a light knock, Chris. It's just a light tap. I mean, Cooley went down in front of me. Let me tell you something. Cooley went down in front of me. I was sat next to my son and go, oh, my God, that's Cooley done. My son goes, oh, you're being so dramatic. I said, I'm not. Look, he's banging the ground. And when Lolo came to try and pick him up, he's gone like that. And I could see he was in agony. Yeah, these moron medical staff were making him do squat jumps on the sideline. And I'm going, what are they doing? I'll have to dig it out, Savva, and show it to you. I'll prove it to you. That I was going, what the fuck's going on? What's going on? What are you doing?
And this proves my point. This proves my point about so many things need to change. I mean, like the medical team, it's not just him that he's done that to. And you was right. They were selling him to basically do star jumps and things. And when but there was another one as well that happened this year that done exactly the same. I think it was Dragusin. Dragusin snapped his ACL and they're telling him to jump up and down. So again, this isn't just a case of everything. Oh, Ange goes and everything's rosy. There's so many different bits that need to change for us to be able to be. That's true if he
stays, though, Luke, isn't it? That's true if he stays. So what's more likely to invoke change is a change of manager, right? I think it's less likely we'll get that change if Ange stays.
I love the way halfway through the season it was like there'll be a review at the end of the season, and I'm like, but that's not what big clubs do a review regardless. When Man City go and win the treble, they would have got at the end of the season and gone, let's have a review. Where can we improve? Where can we make changes? It's almost like, we only do a review when things ain't going quite good. So that should be the case all the time. But our medical department has been poor for years. You go back, we've always had someone who gets injured, and as you said, he's had a minor knock. That's going off of medical staff. He's had a minor knock. All of a sudden he's out for 6 months. It's just, as I say, I think we need to, across the board, there needs to be a complete overhaul of a lot of the departments that we've got going on. And as you said, Chris, rightly so, whether Ange is here or he's not, or whoever comes in, that needs to happen.
We haven't had a stable medical team. I say stable as in, solids that were there for years since Dave Butler was there, running it for Venables. We're going back to the beginning of the 90s.
Jeff Scott was there for a very long time, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. But he worked across multiple jobs, didn't he? He wasn't just one. He was physio, then he moved across, went into the sports science. So I think he's been in the departments, but I don't think he's been in the same job for
I spoke to Jeff Scott. I did a tweet and he messaged me out of the blue asking me where did I get all my information from, thinking that he was going to reprimand me, and he just said to me, well, I sort of told him where I got my information from. I'm going to say here, but he just said, I basically said it was a shit show, a disgrace, and I went into the whole thing about how a club of this size, when you're looking after multi-million-pound players. I mean, if you had a racehorse, if you go to a racing yard, I'm not a racing enthusiast. You might know more than me, Chris, has been doing their stuff. But, when you've got a multi-million-pound racehorse, you go down to the yard and they've got bathing pools, they got masseuses, they've got anything and everything, the top of the top, to make sure that this horse not only stays fit, but it maintains its value and wins races and so on and so forth. And yet there was a small club mentality with a lot of what was going on at the club. You know, why were we advertising medical staff on LinkedIn, right? If you're dealing with multi-million-pound players, you should be getting to the top recruitment agencies. I want to find the best in medical, the best in nutrition, right? You shouldn't be whacking it on, you know, why not put an advert in Facebook, right? And have all sorts of numpties messaging the club. It's laughable.
Can I just ask though, guys, like there are some fans out there that just don't get it, right? I'm not Spurs fans, by the way, fans from other clubs who just don't get it. So hang on, you just won the Europa League, you're in the Champions League. You should be happier. You should just be behind this manager. But surely the story is written itself by the fact that there is such a divide, even though we are in the Champions League and won a trophy. Surely that is the measurement. Sean, let me come to you and then Lubo. Surely that is the measurement, right? That Crystal Palace right now, I fail to believe, and if there's a Palace fan out there, tell me that any Crystal Palace fan is sitting there going, yeah, Glasner's got to go, right? For example, just won a trophy. So why are we so divided, Sean? This now isn't, oh, it's poisonous people like me and I'm poisoning them. We are so divided. And that chat just then, Sean, some said believe, some said nonsense. It was believe, nonsense, believe, nonsense. But why are we so split, Sean?
I think many reasons. I think in the micro, it's because the season was so unbelievably hot and cold, right? Like the Premier League was the worst season we've ever had, and the Europa League was the best season we've ever seen in our lifetime. So there's people who are going to look at that season differently based on what they think is important. Number two, I think that when the dust settles as time goes on, more and more people that have moved Ange out will come down from their hangover and will realise that that the league is important and it is the best barometer of where you are as a football club, and they'll start to shift back. I've spoken about this many times. I think the shift in the polls was mad, from 85% Ange out on Tuesday to 85% Ange in on Thursday and Friday, and then Saturday it started to eat back again. Today it's become, at least on my channel, when it had like 2,000 votes in the poll, in the end it was back to 60% Ange out. So I think that, you know, my channel, I don't think it necessarily leans any way on anything. I think it's the audience is pretty mixed. So I think that there's that. I think there's the hangover. I think there's also Tottenham fans generally are always split down the middle, because we are the team that has knocked on the door of being amongst the big boys for the longest, and haven't really gone through it. And as a consequence of that, you have a bit of a mixed bag of expectations. Some Tottenham fans tolerate where we are versus and understand, you know, that there's that gap between the next level, and others don't, and they think that that's unacceptable. And so Tottenham fans are probably more divided versus teams like Crystal Palace or the other, you know, anyone else you want to talk about. There's a bit more tolerance and patience with the process, and just being amongst, you know, being in the Premier League is good enough. And so that kind of need for change every 5 minutes isn't necessarily there. And so I think there's just more impatience with Tottenham fans because, you know, it's been, like I say, you've been knocking on the door for that long. So I think there's a very unique subculture amongst our fan base that doesn't necessarily exist everywhere else. And then, like, that's in the macro. And then, as I say, in the micro right now, it's just because people can choose to remember the Premier League, or they can choose to remember the Europa League. And I think that they're two very different stories.
Well, look, let me bring in Lubo. I mean, Lubo, I said this morning that I listen, first of all, Sean, spot on, by the way. Spot on. Sorry, got to give credit where it's due. I agree with everything you said there. Lubo, I've said this for a while in our group, and I've been shot down and told I'm not happy enough and all this kind of stuff. For me, I think a cup run is a barometer of a cup run, and it's great, and it gives you the moment. It gives you that feel-good moment, whether that moment is 1 minute, whether that moment is a week, whether it's 3 weeks, whether it's a summer, it gives you a moment. But Sean is 100% spot on, isn't he, Lubo? The Premier League, which is your bread and butter, where you train every week, play every week in it, that is the barometer of where we are heading as a club, is like that.
Let me just go over the 2 years with Ange. He started off brilliantly, won the manager of the month 3 months running, 10 games, 26 points, superb. you know, we got lucky in a few of those games, but it doesn't matter. You know, we're riding on the crest of a wave. Ange is very innovative. He's brought in this 2 at the back, pushing the fullback, both fullbacks in as 10s, which meant you've got Maddison dropping back, picking up the ball off the 2 centre backs, the way that Ozzy used to do in the late 70s. And then we got found out, and then bit by bit, apart from a run after Christmas in his first season where he got 20 from 10, you know, he got 26 from 10, then he got 10 from 9, then he got 20 from 10 when we were playing lower league, lower clubs, and then we got 10 from the last 9 when we were playing better teams. We then move into this season, and the league season's been horrendous. Now, I've never known a season with 2 extremes the way we have.
Yeah.
But the way I've tried to make sense out of this is to look at the level of the clubs that we've beaten in the Europa, and then to have a look at our record in the league and break it up with results against the top half and results against the bottom half. Now, none of the teams that we played in the Europa, and United we know finished 16th, so that speaks for itself. But of all the other clubs that we've beaten or played, I would think maybe only Frankfurt could possibly be in the top 10, which is why I thought both performances and the results against Frankfurt, for me, were our best of the season. So if you look at Ange against the top 10, we've won 4, of which 2 were against Brentford, who are 10th. So against the top 9, we won 2, drew 2, and lost 14, which is absolutely horrendous. But that shows you where we are as a club. We're a bottom half club. And the teams we were beating in the Europa were bottom half. Now, Ange is good. When he came in, having seen him after a season, I haven't changed my thoughts. He's a good manager at a lower level. And the Europa League is a lower level than the Premier League. I think this year's Europa League, should I say, is a lower level than the Premier League. So for me, Ange has done well. He's done better against the clubs in the bottom half of the league, and he's done very well in Europe against clubs who are either in the bottom half of the Premier League or clubs that would be in the Championship. So for me, you know, it's quite simple. Ange is fine up to a level. If we want to take the club forward and be more than a bottom half team, for me, we've got to find a better manager. And when I look at what people are saying about, Frank's not been in Europe, well, hang on a second. Ange came to Spurs. He'd been at Celtic. Great club, Celtic, bigger club than us. But let's talk about the leagues. The Scottish League, the SPL, is nowhere near as good as the Premier League. So we've got people criticising.
And did terribly in the Champions League, Lubo, with Celtic.
Yeah,
I don't think he won
right.
a single game, did he?
That's right. So we've got people turning around and saying, we've got managers here like Frank, like Silva, like Glasner, who are good Premier League managers, and they're saying, we don't want them. I'd rather have Ange. Where's he managed beforehand? Scotland, Japan, Australia. Come on, give your heads a wobble. You know, those levels, those leagues are nowhere near the level of the Premier League. So the managers that are doing well in the Premier League have got to be an improvement on Ange. I mean, and I can't have another year of watching this shit. It's been dreadful.
Can I show you this? Just before Luke comes in, can I show you this, right? Because I've brought this up a few times, but I think this is a huge barometer that when people are saying, yeah, but we won the Europa League, this is a barometer that he has been absolutely horrific in the Premier League. Like there's no getting away. When people say these are your facts, your stats, Savva, right? I can manipulate them. I can't manipulate this, right? Let me make sure I bring up the right one, Lubo. This, right? This is completely unacceptable. This shows every 19 games, he is officially getting worse than the 19 games before. So when people keep saying, and for anyone at home wondering, of course, I've used 19 games is because 19 games is half a season. So you can see here that when people say it's because of the Europa, well, no, because we weren't in the Europa for half of this data here. He started with a 1.89 for 19 games. He's gone to a 1.58, then down to a 1.26, then down to a 0.74. Surely, I mean, can anyone on this panel argue with that to demonstrate how bad he's been in Premier League versus the Europa League?
Can we just extrapolate that out? Can you put that back on the screen for a second?
Yeah, sure.
So what's that? A 0.31 difference between the first,
Sean,
right?
Sean,
A 0.32 difference between the next one.
Sean, it was 36. Sean, it was 36, 30, 24, and 14.
Well, what
36, 30.
You're talking about points.
You're answering something different to Sean. Let Sean
finish.
finish. That wasn't what he was saying. That wasn't what he was
so
saying.
So the difference between 189 and 1.58 is 0.31 points per game difference in the second half to the first half. Then it's a 0.32 difference from the second half of the first season to the first half of the second season. Then it looks like a 0.52. Let's average that out to about 0.4. So that means that if we're on the continuation mechanism here, in the first half of next season, we're going to be getting 0.34 points per game. And by the second half of the season, we're getting nothing. We're getting no points per game on the second half of the next season.
But guys, the reason I bring this up,
6 points. We'll have 6 points.
The reason I brought this up, guys, is because it's brilliant. Everyone going, yeah, but we won a Europa League. But every metric other than a cup run is telling you that we're going in the wrong direction. Number of goals conceded, number of defeats, everything. Even guys, number of shots against us per game. Everything over 2 years has gone boom or boom, whichever way you want to look at it. Right?
In the wrong direction.
Luke, you're someone who has been, again, Reezy, I will block you if you say silly things. I don't know how I can manipulate that fact. I don't know how I've manipulated that.
How many stats you got to have, Reezy, to be manipulated? There's no manipulation, right? Okay, yeah, well, what you're doing is you're taking away the first 10 games and you're not adding context. The injuries, bullshit, right? Injuries is a blip, is one part of the season. This has been going on for months and months and months. And you're right, Savva, there was a stat. I was just looking for it before where I was sorting some stuff out there to look for the stat that we had the most amount of shots in 2025 against us, more than Southampton and more than someone else. Have you got that? Where was this? What's this stat you've got here?
So this might be the one. So if you look, so this is our games this season. You look at the number of big chances against us, the number of shots against us, then everything just gets worse and worse and worse as the season. I'll send it to you guys so you can look at it, right?
Yeah,
everything gets worse. And then look. So does all of this get undone by, and then this, the 1.0, does all of this get undone?
Go back that a second, Savva, please. Just the one you just had before. The stat before. Yeah, that one there.
But this for me is not overtaken by the fact that we beat Alkmaar, Bodo Glimt, Frankfurt, and Man United. Those 4 teams that we beat, brilliant. You've won it. You've got your get out of jail free card. It doesn't mean all of this should have happened. I'm sorry, it just doesn't.
But Savva, the final, right? I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, we beat the worst Man United team who absolutely dominated us. How do you only manage 115 passes in 95 minutes? Can someone tell me what that works out at? Right. And of those, it's 115 passes, right, in 95 minutes. And of those 115 passes,
a pass every 52 seconds.
Right. Of those passes every 52 seconds, only 61% were successful. Only 27% were bad. And we only had 1 shot on target, which was debatable. And yet I let the dust settle because I wasn't going to throw that stat out in front of the euphoria.
A successful pass every 1.48 minutes or something.
Yeah, come on, guys. Come on, guys.
Can I add another stat to that regarding our league season?
That was
when we got relegated, we had 33 points from 42 games. If we're working on the same 2 points per game this season, we'd have had 27 from 38, which equates to 30 from 42. So in effect, we're 3 points worse off than we were in the relegation year.
Yeah, which is the worst ever. It's the worst ever. And
we have never ever. If we'd have been working on 3 points, we'd have been working on 3 points per game the year we were relegated. Would have had 45 points. I think it would have been something like 1.06 per game. This, we got 1 point per game. This is the worst season, I think, in our entire history. Roy, you're in the chat. History of Tottenham Hotspur. Will you correct me if I'm wrong? But I think this is the worst ever league season we have had since the team started in 1882 and started playing regular league football.
Here we go. Here's the big one. The big boys come in. No decision has been made yet.
Yeah, it says absolutely nothing, that tweet.
Yeah, I was just, everyone's been going, Romano's tweeted, so I brought it up. But by the way, when we say, pick up AB as well. Yeah, listen, I could change the stats and add in the cup games and all of that. But when people are asking me, like, pick up Leo in the chat who said to me, why is the league our bread and butter? Because, dude, the league is the barometer of how good are you over a year. Like, a cup is how good are you over a cup run. The league is 38 games, 19 at home, 19 away against everybody. And the barometer is that we managed 1 point per game. 1 point per game. That's not my facts. They're not Savva stats. They are Tottenham Hotspur stats, unfortunately. So this is such a bittersweet cup win for me. This is so bittersweet because the one thing I've said all along, guys, is for all the people that have flip-flopped to Ange in, cool, do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. None of them can answer me what changes now. None of them can answer me that now we've won that cup, what changes with the way he manages players with injuries? What changes a number 6 in front of the back 4? What changes the inverted fullbacks? What changes the number of 20 shots per game on our goal? Does all that change because we scraped through against Man U in a cup final? I just don't think it does.
Only if he's learned.
Sorry, Luke?
I said only if he's learned. If he adopts a different style of play, you can. And this is the strange thing that I don't understand is that everybody he has a philosophy. He has a philosophy which is fine, but you can still have a philosophy and have different tactics in different formations and everything else. So if he goes and starts playing, for instance, the Europa League style football that we was playing, where you don't need a 6 because you've got two midfielders in the position together. The inverted fullbacks doesn't happen as much with Jed Spence and Udogie, which they clearly wasn't doing that towards the end of the season as much. But it depends on what version we're going to get. Very much depends on what sort of transfers we're going to get, as we've kind of already gone over. And the split in the fan base, I think part of that, what you were saying earlier, there's no club really that's going to have a season like this, because halfway through they would have sacked the manager and then gone on and won the trophy. So they'd have gone, wow, that manager was terrible and this one's brilliant. So it's almost like that's why I think the split is, because there's almost an unparalleled season that's not going to happen again. Not many clubs are going to go and do what we've just done.
So
sure,
some
look
fans.
at the number of people in the chat. Sorry, Dan, I'll bring you in 1 sec. Look at the number of people in the chat just going, yeah, but what do the league losses mean?
Yeah,
sorry,
that doesn't make any sense.
Are we Burnley? Like,
No,
are we a team that yo-yos from the Premier League to the Championship? We're going, what do the league defeats mean? Sorry, there's 3 people on here I know with season tickets and maybe more, right? Johnny, Chris, Lubo, you've all got season tickets, right?
Yeah.
Sean's got season. You got 4 season tickets, right? The others probably go. I won't go. I'm not going to pay until this. Different story, right? You got 4 people on here with season tickets, guys. How do you feel about the losses nearly every week at White Hart Lane? Do you? It's all right for the fans that don't live anywhere the stadium and going, oh, it's fine. Don't worry about those losses.
Come with us, Savva. Come with us. All you guys in there, come down with Chris and I and Lubo, right? Get in a car, drive 5 flipping hours, right, to the stadium, okay? Stand there, get soaked, pissing wet, right? Eat a dog shit food. Watch that food. Watch that. Sorry. Watch that type of football. come away disillusioned, get back in the car. If you're Lubo, get on any stream that's going, right? Listen, and drive all the way home and wonder and say to yourself, what did I just do? And then get up and do it again and again and again. And when I heard what he said the other day about he gave up the league, I was absolutely raging, right? And I'll tell you what, I felt like clipping it and sending it to Daniel and to the board and say, is there any chance of a refund for me and Lubo for the amount of games that we've gone to and the fortunes that we've spent this year? The only games that I feel that I've got great satisfaction on, right, was Manchester United away. I unfortunately missed Man City away, but Man United away, where I got a bit wet from the water coming through the roof. Man United away, Frankfurt away with my friend over there, Sean, with Bodo away. That was an absolute great trip, and Bilbao. Other than that, right, I haven't really enjoyed this season at all. I really haven't.
No, I don't buy into that. I don't buy into that. The league is the barometer, 100%, 1,000,000%. And the best way to say that is if next year we finish 17th for winning FA Cup, is everyone going to be saying this is unbelievable? It broke the duck, and that is the only reason that it's acceptable in any way, shape, or form. Right. The league form's not going to be acceptable and never will be. It's never going to be acceptable to finish 17th, regardless of what people say.
Correct.
And I said this on the first ever stream with you, Sav. The facts is that the league form has to improve. That's it. There's no way around it. Even if we go and win a Carling Cup and an FA Cup and finish 17th, that's not going to happen. I think that's what's confused a lot of people when people are talking about the whole Tottenham season, Arsenal season, who's had a better one. We're not saying who's in a better position next year, starting next year. Obviously, you'd rather finish second because you would hope that sets you up to have a good season next year. But solely on this season, we've won a trophy and they didn't. That is sure. That. But this doesn't mean that we're now going to be top of the league next year. Of course.
The other thing also, for anybody questioning whether Ange should be staying or not, he's won us the Europa League, had a fantastic day in Bilbao. The parade was brilliant. We'll always be appreciative to Ange for that. But if you're looking at next season, we don't have the safety net of a Europa League, which is several levels down from the Champions League. So if the league form continues the way it is, and we're getting battered in the Champions League, how does everybody feel? League Cup, FA Cup, if we're bottom half, if we're 15th, 16th, guys, let's be real, we're not going to win the League Cup or the FA Cup. There are going to be too many better teams that are going to be there. Even if we get through to the semis like we did and played Liverpool, we got battered. We went to Villa, we got well beaten. Look,
can I back on from your point, Lou, though? Can I back on from your point, right? But for me, I could understand this. First of all, listen, we all know how transparent I am. Apologies if anyone's offended from the get-go. I think this is a complete load of bollocks when he comes out and says, we knew the league was done from January because in February we won the first 3 games in a row, right? Didn't we? We beat Ipswich, Man United and Brentford, right, in a row. So clearly they didn't think the league was done because we were winning games and we defended for our lives against Brentford, right? So I don't believe that at all in any way, shape or form. But let's assume we did believe that, right, Lubo? Are we seriously saying that Tottenham, with the squad as big as we've got, had to throw half a season for Bodo Glimt, Alkmaar and Frankfurt? Like, it's not like we've gone out and beaten Barcelona, PSG and Man City and all of the eggs had to go in one basket. We've beaten Listen, Frankfurt I thought would be a tough away game, and it did prove to be a tough away game. We defended really well. Yeah. But are those teams, Lubo, that we're saying we had to throw half a season for those 3 games? AZ Alkmaar are terrible. Can we, like Bodo, you've got to be beating them. Isn't that the embarrassing part about all of this?
Well, I think, for me, I think whoever comes in next season, whoever the manager is, whether it's Ange Postecoglou, Inzaghi or whoever, to go and be competitive in 8, not 6 now, 8 Champions League games and be competitive in the Premier League is going to be a tough ask with this squad, right? It really will be. And, we need to spend some serious money. And I think even with 2 or 3 top signings, I still think it's going to be very tough. And I just hope that there's some sort of understanding, because what we've allowed is this manager to preside over 22 losses. For the first time ever, Levy has taken his hand off the ejector button. I just worry whether he's going to revert to type next season when we go into the Champions League. And, it's going to be tough. You're going to be seeing, us play wherever it's Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, and then on the Wednesday or the Tuesday, and then come the Saturday, we could be playing Liverpool or Forest, whoever. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. They've got
to sort the managerial situation out very quickly. Comments about half an hour ago from We Are Spurs TV. Lubo knows we need 5 or 6 players this summer. Fully agree with you. We certainly do. I think we also saw every team gets injuries, and you rely on your squad. And I think we all saw last season that the squad wasn't good.
What does that look like, though, Lubo? I mean, that's the thing. Does 5 or 6 in the real world? What does 5 or 6? We do not need 5 or 6 also rans. We need
no. We need 5 or 6 players to come in and improve the squad and improve the first team.
£300 million, right?
Depends if you're clever.
You're not going to spend £300 million.
I know you're not. I'm just saying 5 or 6. If you want quality, 5 or 6 quality players, top players, unless you're going and bringing in the likes of Jonathan David on a free or Sane on a free, Angel Gomez on a free, you're going to struggle, right? To not spend big money if you want to buy top players.
Johnny, I think it's
you don't need 6 new players. Let's be honest, right? If Romero doesn't leave, and you haven't got to replace one of your main starters, if you're just talking about like what are the areas of the squad that really need improvement, you need a striker to be better than Solanke or Richarlison. One of them can stay, but you need someone better than that. You need a winger to be better than what we have. You need a 6. You need a 6. Well, okay, maybe in an ideal world, but in reality, you need a striker, a winger, ideally 2, but probably because you're not going to be able to get rid of them or make room. But so you need at least 2 forwards. You need a 6. You need a fullback. And a fullback doesn't need to be an absolute top draw fullback, by the way. It could just be someone to come in and cover in the world.
Can't it? Sean, like Nkape, for example.
Okay, so if you go and get so you get a left-sided centre back to cover for Van der Ven, and you get a left fullback at the same time in like a Nkape, for example.
What about a creative midfielder? You can't have one.
I think if you go and get yourself someone like a for example, the geezer that Man United are about to go and get to replace Bruno Fernandes, Pedro Gonçalves, what a player he is. And then that guy can do a little bit of everything, right? He can squeeze in anywhere on the pitch. Yeah. Eze could play in the middle if you go and get Eze. He could play in the 10, or he could play on the left as well, right? So,
does anyone believe, though, guys, if they're going to do this? Anybody?
No,
on this panel?
I don't. Eze to Tottenham, I think is going to happen.
But Sean, the 5 players.
Goddamn.
Look, the 5 players that we need.
That's 4 players you need. 2 strikers. Sorry, a striker, a forward, a 6, and a fullback / centre back. 4
and the
players.
level of quality, do you believe we're going to get those type of players? The level of quality that we need, not just young kids.
I think two of them are going to be really good. I hope 2 of them are going to be really good. Like I don't use like usually I've been using it a lot recently, but I don't like using it marquee. But I think the centre back / fullback I don't think is going to be like an eye opener. I think it's going to be someone that can, it could just be a fullback like a Kenny Tete or an Ainu from Forest on the freebie, right? And I hope that Tottenham don't go and get Angel Gomez and that's our 6, because I don't think he's good enough in that role. But I don't mind the player, but I just don't think he's a massive improvement on what we have. But I hope that Tottenham.
You think we'd sign any needle movers, Sean? I like the term needle mover.
Yeah, needle mover, perfect. Yeah. I think we sign at least 1, if not 2 needle movers. Yeah.
I just worry. I reckon we get 1.
Is Eze a needle mover?
Oh my God, Eze is the best player at our club by a country mile.
Is Sane a needle mover?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is Jonathan David a needle mover?
Yes.
Jonathan David's going Napoli, no chance.
Oh, just with that level, is he?
Yeah. Jonathan David, compared to Solanke, yeah.
Okay, is Kenny Tete or like an Ainu or like a fullback of that level? Like just to come in and do what you need as like a backup in case that Pedro Porro gets
The
injured.
word backup, it's competitive.
I know, but are you going to be terrified if Kenny Tete is in the right back because Pedro Porro is injured?
No.
That's not a needle mover, is it? Because Porro, let's be fair, whoever comes in at fullback knows that Ange, whatever happens, they're going to learn from Jed Spence this season, right? They know whatever happens, Adogi and Porro are going to start. If Ange is the... We're going to know more tomorrow, right? But I wanted to...
go Larson a needle mover?
Yeah, possibly.
No, Hugo Larson at Frankfurt.
Frankfurt.
Yeah.
Possibly. Again, I think a lot of that depends on who comes in and the style we play. But when I talk about needle movers, I mean, Eze for me is an absolute no-brainer. That guy comes in and I go, I don't ever want to see that guy on a bench. Play him, let him do what he needs to do. That's my guy, right?
Yep.
I'm talking about signings like that. I think Eze
will happen. I don't know about the Sane thing. I think Johnny makes a good argument that it's a little bit of a smokescreen from Pini Zahavi to get more money out of Bayern. But I think that the story that he wants to come to London and play in the Premier League, if those things are true and that Zahavi wants him to, has already had conversations with Tottenham, I don't think that Arsenal want him or need him. And I don't think that Chelsea have got any room for another winger like that. So I would say that if he wants to come back to the Premier League and play for London, I think there's reservations about his motivations of why he wants to come back and what's going on there. And I don't know whether you're getting similar to what people think of Sonny, right? Sonny from 3 years ago, Sane from 3 years ago, brilliant player. Sonny today, is Sane like on the decline? I don't know. But either way, I think if there's truth to it, that's a needle mover. And I think Tottenham could do with both of them and make use of it, especially because Eze is so versatile.
I agree. Can I tell you why I'm worried, Sean? I'm going to show you all a few things and then we'll talk about all these transfers. By the way, smash the like button. Guys, there are 1,100 of you in here. 1,100 and 415 likes. Can we at least get that to halfway, which is 550? Come on, people.
Daniel Levy type stats, those are.
Exactly. And thank you to the 13 people that have subscribed tonight. If we can get another 10 to 15, it'd be great. Please subscribe as well to Sean, to Dan. Please subscribe to Spotlight on Spurs, Luke, as well. Guys, we see 15,000 of these a day, right? So don't shoot the messenger. But when I looked at these that were banded around today, a little bit of me did die inside. You know that feeling you get in every Spurs transfer window where you go, oh, nothing's going to change. You know, like this is not a Champions League set of players. And I'm looking at, I'll go through them and then and then we'll talk about. So not this one. This one was yesterday. So these were the four that I got today. One was Tottenham have retained interest in Fikayo Tomori as they want to sign a left-sided centre-back. Another defensive option being considered is Jared Branthwaite. Mark Gray, he is not thought to be interested in a move to Tottenham. We'll talk about that in a minute. Then I'm seeing Angel Gomez, which I don't think will be a shock. I think we've been linked with this guy for a long time now. Again, like Sean said, I think he's a good footballer, but I don't know where would he play. Is he a needle mover? For me, doesn't change the game for me.
How tall is he, Savva? How tall is he? It's about 5'4", isn't he?
5'4", 5'5", yeah. Then you've got Tyler Dibbling. Again, this would baffle me. 45 to 50 million for another young winger when you've already got a plethora of young wingers plus Jamie Donnelly coming back.
Nice
it just
word.
Nice word. Makes sense. And then this blew my mind. Matisse Tell's option will become an obligation if all his clauses are met. I believe almost all of the clauses have been met, they said. Ben Jacobs said. Some of the clauses are appearances, goal output, and Champions League football. Option to buy 55 million. Which
goal
would mean
output? Hang on, Savva.
Hang on, let me finish. Guys, let me at least get to the end of this, right? 60 million, including loan fee. Now, guys, that is Dibbling, Gomez, Tell, and Tomori. Now, the only one of those that I really like is Tomori, right? Which would make sense for me if a Romero goes. But those sorts of signings, is that why we've bothered to win the Europa League and get in the Champions League? Is that going to excite anybody, those players?
Matthias Tell, hang on a minute. Matthias Tell, he's met the criteria, 1,714 minutes, 34 games here in Germany. He scored one penalty, one ball which hit him and went in, and one goal and 2 assists.
Don't shoot the messenger.
17. What criteria is he met? Sorry, what criteria is he met? I'm trying to understand.
But that four. I mean, so the main four there were Tomori, who we know we tried and he rejected us.
I like him.
Right, Tomori, Dibbling, Gomez, and the other one was Tomori, Dibbling, Gomez, and Tell. Is that Champions League? Is that what we've got in the Champions League for?
Yeah, this is so underwhelming. This is why I'm worried. Links like them doesn't excite me at all.
I read that Tell has the final say on whether he wants to join or not.
Of course he does. He's the player.
But if he does, then there is an obligation for Spurs to buy him.
I say we raise a petition now to send him. Listen, look, I think he could be a very good player, right? I'm not gonna knock a kid who's 19 years of age, right? But we need oven ready, right? We need oven ready. We cannot be spending this money on a player who could well be fantastic in 2 or 3 years' time, and we might well look back on it and say maybe we should have done it. But do we not really need players who, like Sean said before, you're going to come in and cook from the off, and that's what this team needs.
But I'm told Levy's a brilliant businessman. 55, 60 million on this guy who we don't need.
Are you just trying to throw a rod out to Sean? Are you trying?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
I know what you're doing.
Sean ain't biting. Sean ain't biting.
No. Sav, Sean has been with me. Sean has been with me at all 3 Levy out process.
Mention Archie Gray, Sean. Mention Archie Gray.
Sean's at all the Levy out process with me. I'm not trying to wind Sean.
5-6. Thanks, Alexander.
What did you say? What did you say that could have wound me up?
No, I said, what a brilliant. People tell me Levy's such a brilliant businessman. He's going to spend 60 million on Tell at a time when money is not.
He's not going to spend million. He's not going to spend that. He's never going to spend that. Never going to happen.
Million anyway.
Well, they just said 55 plus the 10 million loan.
No, the loan.
He's not going to do it, is he? That's never going to. We all know that if Matisse Tell is a Tottenham player next year on a permanent, it will be for nothing like 60 million quid.
Well, that all depends what's in the contract, Sean.
Yeah, but we all know that Daniel Levy is never going to deal that price. For me, I think the reason why.
If it's in writing, Sean, if it's in writing, then Bayern can turn around. The lawyers will turn around. It's
an option, isn't it? It's not an obligation. It's an option.
It is an obligation.
No, it's not.
It is.
No, there's a report today that there was certain criteria. If it was met, it became an obligation.
It's this, Sean. It was this.
Where's it from?
It was this.
Ben Jacobs.
I believe almost all the people doing that.
I don't know, but guys, I want to get back to the point.
Yeah, what was the last line in it? As you took it down
Champions League goals and appearances.
Option to buy a 55, 60 million, including loan fee. Option to buy.
It says option will become an obligation if the following clauses are met. So there
much as I like Ben Jacobs, he's a nice guy, but I some of the things he says. That
listen, I don't know if it's true. I'm more worried, guys. Forget the money for the moment. I'm more worried about the caliber that we're talking about. There's people in the chat saying to me, Dibbling's a good player. He's another kid who's had 1 year in the Premier League. Like it's surely the whole point of getting to Bilbao, surely the whole point of winning that game, yes, so that everyone could have a lovely day out and celebrate, but was making Champions League, guys. And we did this. Yeah. We do this every time we qualify for the Champions League. We have a summer where you go, is that it? Is that what we're going to do? Man United have just signed Cunha. They're not in Europe. Man United have signed Cunha. They're not in Europe. Surely we've got to be looking at better than Dibblings and Tells and Gomez's, haven't we?
Yeah. I think I said on this channel a couple of weeks ago, we need to stop trying to buy players that are going to improve the squad. You go out, you buy it, you improve your 11, and whoever's in your 11 then becomes your squad player, and therefore that improves your squad.
Yeah.
But this is what it's like. This is the same old, isn't it? Years and years and years under Levy. So this is why I asked the question earlier. Does anyone actually believe they're going to pull through with the signings that we actually need next season? I'm so worried.
Well, I think that this delay doesn't, whether you're Ange in, Ange out, whether you want him or you don't, this delay in not having a decision, what seems to be at the moment, does not help anyone. Because if you don't have a decision on the manager, no?
Luke, I disagree. I think that there'll be 3 people at this football club that know the decision.
Yeah, maybe. Right?
And I think those 3 people are Daniel Levy, Vinay Ventukesham, and Fabio Paratici, right? So I think that Paratici is working in the dark right now. When we see Spurs have spoken to, that's Paratici, right? He's working behind the scenes. So for me, I don't think it matters. All of this stuff matters for us as fans, right? And it might matter for the new players that we're speaking to, but I don't think it stops us going out there and talking to. But I just think this is underwhelming. If they are the players, and I hope Sean's right. I hope I want to see Spurs this week have signed Sane and Eze, because I put this up earlier, right? I put this up, and sorry for anyone who's seen this repeated, playing a little bit of Football Manager in my head. I said, look, just with a few, and I know that Sean will agree with me on this, just with a few additions there. That was Paulinho from Bayern, Eze from Palace, and Sane from Bayern Munich. Right?
Yeah, amazing.
We can go into what else we need. Look at the difference that team makes with those 3 footballers.
Yeah, I think you definitely need a needle mover striker though, because I like Solanke, but yeah, your starting 11 there's great. It's great.
Yeah, I agree, Sean. Don't get me wrong, but I was trying to not be too greedy and think, we're going to make 4 needle movers. I was just saying, look at that front 3 behind a striker, right? Suddenly, teams won't want to play against Eze, Maddison, and Sane.
Also,
Paulinho
just what is worth, you put that. Sorry, I think you took the words out. Well, I was about to take the words out of your mouth. Carry on.
No, go on.
I was about I think we had this conversation before, mate, on your version of the context when we did it together. Like you put Paulinho in that 6, right, and you let Bergvall float, and Paulinho doesn't need to be like people say. Paulinho's not good with the ball at his feet. He doesn't need to be, right. All he does is he wins it back. He sniffs out the threat. He wins it back, and he hands it over to someone else who is a monster at getting it where it needs to be. That's not his role. Yep. But Paulinho in the 6, I think you made the brilliant point, mate, when I was on that stream with you. And you went, just think about Mickey van der Ven and Romero and that breath of relief, that sigh of relief when they look at they look at the ball in transition and they go, don't worry, Paulinho's 5 feet in front of me. He's 15 feet, and he's touch tight to whoever the 10 is, right, in the transition. Yeah. Right, unfortunately, as much as people think that Bentancur's a brilliant player, and he's a very good player, he isn't a 6. He is not a 6. And you can tell if you go to the game and you're not watching via the camera when the camera's panning up when Matisse Tell has it or Sonny has it or Johnson has it. If you're watching the game, you can see how close Bentancur in the deeper lying 6 role or deeper lying 8 role, how close or how far away he is from the 10 on the other side. He's not touch tight in the rest defense. And so when you lose the ball, when players like Pape Sarr give the ball away or Sonny gets transitioned on, Bentancur is like 15 yards away from the guy at the danger man. And so like it's not his fault. It's not part of his natural instinct. He's not a 6 sniffs out the threat, an 8 seeks out the opportunity. And he's an 8, and I just think that if you can go and get Paulinho in there, everything becomes. Just think how many points difference is Man City better when Rodri plays for 10 games versus when Rodri doesn't. For sure. Right? Is it not exactly the same thing, just on a second tier? Like Tottenham play a similar style, not the same style, but a similar style of high press, high activity, high movement, and it just without a 6, it beggars belief. And when Ange says, "Oh, I don't play with a 6," you did at Celtic. You had Callum McGregor.
That's right.
So why don't you do it here? Like it never made any sense to me.
And this is the problem, isn't it, with Ange? Could he get the most out of these players coming in anyway? He doesn't play with a 6. I just worry about that as well.
But again, if you go to the 2 midfielders that sit, the 6 is it becomes a little bit. You don't need to have a 6. You could have 2 in there that cover that. And I think going on to what your point was, Sean. You only need to look at how much our midfield improved by Basuma coming closer to Bentancur and therefore 2 in that space instead of just having a single one. So,
but then we lost the whole other end of how we attack. didn't we?
Well,
Ange just didn't know.
again, if we go and sign, as what we're saying is needle movers in a forward line, then you don't need to have as many bodies there. So I would also add Mbeumo into that as well. I think Mbeumo would be great on our right hand side with Porro overlapping as well. And then if you've got either a Polinia or a double pivot there, that then brings your defensive solidity.
So you do want Thomas Frank in, but only if he brings Mbeumo with him, Luke, right?
And Wissa and Damsgaard, and we'll just take the lot.
By the way, we haven't spoken about him. Like,
he's my one.
Would you take him?
Yes,
I'd
all day, every day. Yeah.
How much is Wissa going to cost? If Mbeumo's 50, how much is Wissa going to cost?
50.
And you'd have him.
I don't think it'll cost that. I think they're saying it's something like 40 odd million. But again, if they lose one, would they accept losing the other as well? That's there.
Yeah, Brentford, mate. Brentford have already got some fucking like 21-year-old out of like Iceland and one out of Tokyo that will come in that are 21 years old that will probably cost 8 million quid, and in about 2 years' time we'll all be saying, why didn't we sign Yakahoma or whatever his name's going to be? You know, it's like Brentford have got. I spoke to the guy who walks his dog where I do my videos every day, and he always comes up to me and he loves talking football. He's a massive Brentford fan, and I was asking him about Mbeumo and Brentford's system, and he goes, I'm fine if Tottenham want to, or Newcastle or whoever, if they want to buy 50, we've got 2 or 3 more that will come through. But he said we don't have a great youth team right now, but we always find some little nugget somewhere in the dark recesses of the world, somewhere in like wherever. And they're always ready to go. So it goes because the problem is, like, Brentford fans are very patient in that we don't, like, if a player doesn't like smash it out of the park immediately, we give them time to figure it out, and then eventually it always pays dividends. Whereas bigger clubs don't have that.
Look at Damsgaard. First year in and out
the team.
This year he's got loads of assists and playing really well. But
I don't know,
guys.
Did you see did you see Norgard's interview at the end of the season as well? Norgard basically said, "We'd like to keep Wissa. It looks like Mbeumo's going." I mean, that's coming from the club captain. So that for me tells me, well, that's someone who's available. And when you say about Champions League or not, all right, if we don't get Champions League, we're not getting an Mbeumo. If we do get Champions League, there's absolutely no reason. You've already done the wages on here and what he's on. There is absolutely no reason you can't go and get that player. There's none.
We've got the links we need to be seeing are Mbeumo's and Vissa's as a minimum, not Tell and Dibbling, who are teenagers that still need to learn and grow. We don't need to buy any more footballers that we need to coach, right? You've got, I keep saying this, we've got Mikey Moore, you've got Yang coming back from QPR, you've got Odegaard, who's a young winger that still needs to be coached and learn and grow. You've got Jamie Donnelly coming back, who's not a winger, but another young creative talent that needs to learn and grow and be coached. You don't need more of them. Surely there should be no more teenagers being brought into this football club this summer. Surely we've got enough.
It needs to be experience. But when I say experience, it doesn't have to be a 28, 30-year-old. It can be like Mbeumo's 25, played in the Premier League, that sort of stuff. It needs to be, they need to be seasoned and ready to come in and play immediately. The Champions League is you can't sum it up any more than that. If we weren't in the Champions League and we weren't in Europe, you could have someone who comes in and you give them a few months to kind of get up and ready, but they need to come in and hit the ground running. 100%.
Yeah, experience. Yeah, 100%.
That's
But
right.
you know
That's
what?
right.
Let me bring you in here. Just quickly, Lubo. So my uncle said to me today, he said he's a Spurs fan. He said the difference is this. He said you go and buy Werners, you go and buy Tells, you go and buy Odegaards, they fill up the squad. He said you go and buy Eze's, you go and buy Leroy Sané's. These guys get you up the table. And that's the difference. Is you've got some players that aren't we all bored now of all debating how good is Tell, how good is Odegaard? Why can't we just go and get someone where we all go, Mbeumo straight in the team? Because if Mbeumo joins Lubo, which one of us next season doesn't start Mbeumo on the right hand side?
Absolutely.
And there's not a single Spurs fan that would argue for Odegaard over Mbeumo, right? There's no one.
Sure.
So
I've been saying Mbeumo for months.
Class. He's class.
For me, the most important signing, I would just go out and offer Bayern Munich the money for Paulini. I think if my memory serves me correctly, in his last year in the Premier League, he made more tackles, interceptions, than any other player.
Yeah,
and I think that is absolutely crucial for our team. I really do.
But
if you're sticking with Porro and Udogie, for me they're wing backs, they're not full backs. If you're going to play them at full back, then you for sure need a 6 as major protection.
But
why would you get Paulinho if Ange is the manager?
No, listen, I don't think Ange will be the manager. But I think but Frank varies between a 4 and a 3, doesn't he? Depending on who he plays.
Yeah, I'm not sure you need a 6, like a monster 6 that doesn't have the like. There's obviously a plethora of, to use Savva's word, a plethora of different 6s, stars of 6 out there, right? You've got like the likes of the boy that Savva and I were talking about, Samuel Richie, who's he's lovely, but he's going to AC Milan, unfortunately, right? But a player like him, he's not the same sort of player as a Paulinho, but still plays in the same position on the pitch. Whereas if you have a back 3 and wing backs, I don't think you really have the space in the team to have a player like a Paulinho in there who also doesn't have the passing range like a Richie does, right? So like I think you have to kind of sacrifice, and you just hope that the middle centre back can bring the ball out and then can step up into a 6 role. But if you do go with a back 3, there's still a different type of DM, a different type of playmaker in the holding role that you can use. But I'm not sure if Paulinho is the guy. So even if you were to sign a Thomas Frank as a manager, I'm not sure Paulinho would then be necessary if you're going to play the predominance of games in a back 3. Yeah. But if you're going to stick to a back 4 system, then someone like Paulinho with Bergvall are able to have the license.
Be handy to have, wouldn't it, Sean?
Yeah, 100%. It'd be great. It'd be great problems to have. And but I think you just cherry. And by the way, if you do get him at 31 years old, you're not going to want to use him every game anyway, are you? So, you're going to sort of cherry pick him for the right moments. But yeah,
and if you take out Eze, which is probably going to be 80, 90 million, the players that we're talking about are 50 million pound players. So we're not saying you've got to go and spend 350 million on the brand. Like if you go and I know we're kind of work, but Mbeumo, Wissa, Paulinho, that's 150 million. You get a Sane on a free, all right, you've got wages and everything else. But we're not saying go and spend, when you start looking at players that are going to go out the door, because we've got so many players, they're going to have to go in. 150 million when you've just got Champions League football, when you're getting, I don't know, for 30, 40 million coming in. Spending 100 million is not beyond the realms of possibility.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, I expect to see. I want to see a marquee signing. I do. And when I say marquee, I'm not talking about Kevin De Bruyne's. I know our limit, but I do want to see an Eze. And obviously, we heard last year that Eze wasn't wanted by Ange. If a new manager comes in, I can't imagine that any other manager in the Premier League would say, "Nah, I don't fancy Eze." I think everyone in the world wants an Eze in their squad. But I mean, guys, it looks very much like Kyle Walker-Peters is going to come back. I mean, I think he makes sense for a number of reasons, but again, it just doesn't really. It's not going to do anything for anybody thinking that Levy's changed or that Spurs' ambitions have changed.
That's just the club train thing, isn't it? It's just for the Champions League, for the club train stuff.
Absolutely. But guys, one thing we always talk about in windows is players coming in. We have got and I saw Alex in the chat. Big up, Alex, my man. Said we haven't got a big squad. We bloody have, guys. We've got a big squad of players. We need players to go, and everyone you suggest should go. It's no, you can't let them go. We've got a lot of footballers, guys, coming back from loan. We've got a lot of people coming. A lot of people that probably don't fit in anymore. Who's leaving? Who's leaving? We're seeing Ben Davis might go. Romero might go. Kulu might go. Who leaves to make way?
Solomon, Gill.
Yeah.
There's 2.
Veliz
3. You've already got rid of 4, haven't you?
Matisse Tell.
Werner.
Richarlison.
Well,
I think that Richie's like this guy who's a cock block. He's a cock block. If you're like, he's like the little brother. He's the little brother, right? That your mum and dad are out for the night, and you're like, little bro, can you fuck off down the park for 20 minutes, right? Because I've got a bird coming around, and I really think I've got a chance. No, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to let you have fun. And by the way, if you bring around, I'm going to tell your parents. Tell mum and dad anyway. Like he just won't leave. He won't make room in the squad so he can bring in a proper baller. Proper 9 out of 10. I genuinely think
regular. That's like
regular. Won't that be what we do if we sign Tell?
Yeah, maybe cop block. Yeah.
If we sign another young winger, isn't that what we're doing again? Saying, hang on, we don't want a better one.
There's been rumours about Son, Saudi.
Oh, that would be great. Wouldn't it be good? Sorry, guys, I must apologise for my blank screen there. My missus has gone to Greece. No,
I'm meeting her at the airport in about an hour, Johnny. So yeah.
She's gone to Greece. I love her really, but she's gone. So I had to do the yes. I'm doing nothing. I'm sat here twiddling my thumbs on my third stream. On my third stream of the day. What was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say there. Now
we're talking about players leaving and because someone's got to go.
Yeah, I was just going to say, wouldn't it be great if where Manchester United are having their Bruno Fernandes moment, all the fans up in arms, paying £100 million, well above, what he's really worth, to go to Saudi. Wouldn't it be great if the Saudis came in and bid 50, 60 million pounds for Son? Because I'd like him to go to Saudi, have 2 great years, and they can manipulate him and do what they want, and then come back and be our Asian Ledley King when he retires. But we could really do with the money, and if we could get, what would be acceptable for him? Some would say anything. I don't know, 30, 40 million pounds?
40 million, 40 is a million.
Yeah, 40 million. Don't forget,
frees up 10 million a year on wages as well, doesn't it?
Well, also I think he's got to be worth, when I think about it, 50 million, because in
marketing,
Al Hattiyat shirts, they probably will need to build a new factory to handle all their shirts that they'll be selling.
Yeah, but think of all the money that would drop from Spurs' match day club shop if Son leaves. We'll have to keep Yang around, won't we?
But Ash is spot on in his comment. You think Son's leaving before a tour of Korea?
No,
no doubt.
No, he can leave after.
And didn't Ellie say that Yang's just extended his loan at QPR? So if he's not going to be ready for a year,
I haven't seen anything that's confirmed that. Have you? I
haven't checked, but Ellie put it in the chat.
I haven't seen it. But
if that's happened, then obviously there's no chance that we're going to be without a Korean player for next season.
What are we doing here? Our growth in North America has been huge due to the fact that we haven't got a namings right deal, by the way, because we're called the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and we're not called the Andrex Dome or whatever it may be,
or Google or Amazon, or
because
Andrex Dome.
Andrex Dome or whatever it's called, because it's a toilet bowl, isn't it?
The Tampax Arena, the
Tampax Arena, bleeding useless.
That would be ironic. Seen as the Ange never plugs the gaps, that would be really ironic, wouldn't it?
The Bonnie Blue
Bowl.
Yeah,
the Bonnie Blue Bowl.
The Bonnie Blue Bowl. No, but the thing is, we've got this fantastic fan base in North America, and I just feel that you would think that, if I was a fan in America, in North America, I'd be asking the question, what is it with my club? Why is it they only ever go to Asia? There's a massive, massive market out in America where we're growing hand over fist. You've only got to look at all the clubs. I'm sure you've seen them, Savva, Sean. I get them on my Instagram. Miami Spurs, Austin Spurs. There's so many Tottenham Hotspur clubs all the way around the States, and yet we don't actually service them. We should be, great going to Asia, but we've gone and we've gone and we've gone. We should be going to America now, doing a tour there for this summer.
Yeah, some of those American Tottenham fan clubs, Tottenham supporters clubs, whatever. I've seen a bunch of them on Twitter, like you're saying, Johnny, and they're so passionate. To be honest, though, the best I've never seen anyone like the Thailand bus parade that went on. Did you guys see that on Twitter? The Thailand trophy parade. It was Fucking amazing. So good. I was like, fair play, Thailand. Fair play. Straight up to the number one in the best supporters club in
it was brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely sensational.
Just quickly, let me sorry, I've really neglected the super chats. Big up to everybody here. Big up to this guy follows me and has the best name on YouTube. And this is his real name, Krista Scorpion Nyland. That is a great name. I said we need he does, yeah, he does.
Stick him in
He
the
does.
six.
Yeah, can you play number 6? We need Danish Dynamite. I want Thomas Frankin so bad. Scandinavian coach would be nice. Big up. Krista, I'm all over it, mate. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Very, very generous of you, my friend. Thank you very much. Big up to little Matty K, who I also believe it's your birthday today. Is that right? Is it today, Matty, that you turned 16? Maybe last night. Matty, and as I said, something might be happening to you in the next couple of years that will beat the feeling you had for winning the Europa League, saying that was the best night of your life. So good luck to you, Matty, on your 16th birthday. And you've got an exam coming up, so please revise, Matty. Big up to Ian JD. Thank you very much, channel member. I said, if Ange goes, I want the next manager installed within 24 hours. After watching PSG the other night, Ange can't take us into the Champions League. The Super Cup game, will not be a good advert for us and Ange Ball, would it? Let's be brutally honest. Big up to you, Ian. I mean, you'd be hoping that the conversations that are going on behind the scenes, if this is all true, will be that a new manager is going to be in situ very quickly. Big up to you, Ian. Jamie Allen, very generous. Thank you, mate. Has said the treatment of Spence, the defensive shape, the high line without VDV, playing Forster, blowing 2-0 leads, comments in the media, Solanke #1 target, all red flags. All facts. Absolute facts for me. As I said, if you're given 60 million on a striker and the best you can come up with is Dominic Solanke, I truly worry. You're right. When you know VDV's not playing, drop the line 10 yards. This isn't rocket science, is it? But big up to you, Jamie. Really appreciate that. And Rido Boy, 94, the 94th of the Rido Boy clan. I said, if you sack Ange, you will regret it. I promise you I won't. I absolutely promise you, not one bit of me will regret this guy leaving. He made me watch 26 defeats this season in all competitions. I've never experienced that as a fan before in my life. Righto, boy. Thank you for the super chat. Really do appreciate that. Guys, Levy is back tomorrow. Are we expecting a decision tomorrow, or are we just all getting a bit hyped here? Like everyone's almost making out like we are going to wake up tomorrow morning to a decision. Is Levy going to do? Is that going to be the first thing when he's back? Is he going to leave it to Vinay? Is that going to be Vinay's first act? Because if I'm not wrong, isn't tomorrow his first day in the job as well?
Listen, Vinay's been there a while. Behind the scenes. Fabio's been there behind the scenes. One thing I must say, someone put on there that little Indian fella that's turned up, that little Indian fella is actually 6'2". I think we seem to think of like a little Indian guy, right? He's 6'2", right? This guy, don't mess with Vinny, right? My cousin Vinny, my guy Vinny. Let me tell you something. Film. This guy is exactly what this club needs, right? His relationship with fans. Don't listen to the Arsenal fans, what they're saying now. Guy was there 20 years, oversaw the women's football team, and he had a very good reputation of liaising with the fans. And I'm not sure, and I'm not going to say that he's the reason behind it, but I would say there's been more fan touches in the last 4 weeks than I've probably seen in the last 18 months. I don't know if it's to do with him. I'm not going to say it is because I don't know. But scarves at Boda, scarves. There's been a lot of things going on. The flags, the team. There's been a lot going on. It seemed to be more going on than usual. So hopefully it's something that's going to carry on. He's very good at fan liaison. And let's hope. Look, this is the start. this is a start for me. We got 2 fantastic guys coming onto the board, and I do think that with that board and with Don Fabio coming back, hopefully he'll bring Gabby back in some capacity. We'll get rid of Johan Flange, and Scott Munn will go, and we can go back to our journey northwards, because I think this team that we've assembled with the top manager, the ministry train. Who's that?
Don't worry, Stell has flip-flopped so much that anyone saying anything now, he thinks he's miserable, when for 2 years he's been saying exactly the same thing. So just carry on as we were. He believes what we believe. He's just worried what people will think now. So he's gone to the other side.
Come on, Stell, mate. You were more Ange out than I was Ange out, and I was seriously.
Stell, jump on. Stell, jump on and tell us why we're all miserable. Come on, jump on and tell us why we're all miserable.
Jump on and tell us your Ange story. I want to hear his Ange story. He's had an epiphany in the night. I don't know what's happened.
Yeah, it's quite funny. It's quite funny. But yeah, again, is anyone expecting if news does come tomorrow? Are we expecting it from Vinay, or are you expecting it from Levy?
I think there'll be a club statement coming out.
I'm expecting it from Fabrizio Romano.
Yeah,
not Henry Wright.
Henry Wright.
You're not expecting it from Henry Wright.
No, you know what? I was on the stream and I was like, this morning, I was on your stream this morning. I was like, Henry Wright has been absolutely shameless, and I'm really jealous. I've got to go, Sam. I've got to go and put out my own stream. Tell them, and Sam. It's just outrageous. It's outrageous what he does, and I love it. I love his shamelessness with the way he spins it.
Get still Campbell out there.
Care about me.
Spursy
Stell, if you want to come on, Stell, just message me and I'll send you the link, mate. But
come on, Stell.
Yeah.
I want to hear Stell's epiphany. I want to know how one day.
Let me send him the link. Let's
hear him. I want to hear how he turned one night. One night, I saw him bouncing up and down. In Bilbao. Maybe he had a fall. Did anyone witness him having a fall?
No, Johnny.
That's unbelievable.
People say something happens in their life and they find God. Snell has found Ange.
Yeah, you know. I'd like to
favorite. my manager with my cup. That's all I'm saying.
I'd like
quickly. Did any of you guys see the story today about Theo Hernandez being linked to Tottenham?
No.
Is that someone that?
I see Saudi.
As in the left back, Theo Hernandez.
The left back who can also double up as a left-sided centre back. He's not as good as he was at Milan, but Milan are trying to get rid of him. The story came out that they're trying to sign Destiny Udogie to replace Theo Hernandez, but that Theo Hernandez is also on Tottenham's shortlist.
Didn't Milan not even make Europe?
I'm not sure.
Did AC Milan not make Europe? I swear I see somewhere that they finished somewhere like 8th or somewhere like that. That's why I'm surprised that Richie
didn't they win a trophy though? Didn't they win? Didn't they beat Inter Milan in a final?
Yeah, I think it was the Super Cup though. I don't think it gets you European football.
So many
cups, be wrong.
So many finals. Look, my worry is if it was a swap deal, Sean, yeah, that sort of thing works for me. But if it's not, we've seen that he really does rate Udogie, even to the point where Jed Spence was playing brilliantly, was probably our best player for 3 months, from January through to March, and then was suddenly just completely cast aside. I don't know if that's got anything to do with the Rio Ferdinand podcast or that type of stuff, but it felt very much that he got cast aside. And I've got a feeling
he was absolutely cast aside, but not before he tried to take the credit for Jed Spence's revival. He didn't want him, didn't use him. Udogie gets injured, plays Jed Spence after also shunning Jed Spence and playing an 18-year-old central midfielder in the centre-back spot and the full-back spot. Finally, he has to, because he's run out of other options, he has to play Jed Spence. Jed Spence smashes it out of the park. And then when asked about the resurgence of Jed Spence, he basically said, yeah, it was all part of my grandmaster plan. Just like finishing 17th was all part of his grandmaster plan as well.
What about his shameless Basuma chat that he gave about 4 weeks ago?
Yeah. Fucking hell. That's another one, Sam. I forgot about that one. When he said,
So
I had a word with
about
Basuma and said, listen, I've called you out several times, but I'm going to need you. I'm going to need you when the sea.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the catalyst, is it? That's the after you've publicly thrown him under the bus on 2 occasions. You got quiet word in your shell, like I'll never say this publicly until you started to prove yourself, and then I'll come out and take credit for it. He's shameless. I'm going to call him Henry Postecoglou, I think, from now on. It's outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous.
I have messaged Stel, by the way, but he hasn't read my WhatsApp, so I don't know if he's still in the chat. But
he's been there. He's lurking. He's
lurking in the shadows. He's doing a Paratici. He's in the shadows, working behind the scenes. Yeah, listen. On a serious note, though, guys,
isn't he?
Whoever the manager is, right? We have got to start making moves in this window because Arsenal already, Zubimendi, he's joining this week after a medical. Sesko looks like they're going to get that over the line. Liverpool, I mean, what is it? Verts, Frimpong, Kirkes. Romano gave the eyes today with Kirkes. You know what he does. Man United, Cunha. Man United just rocking up without Europe and going, there's £65 million for Cunha. Chelsea straight away, Delap. We've got to learn from years gone by, right, and have these players ready for a tour. Have these players ready for our pre-season games, right? Not like what we did last summer.
Yeah, I just think that there might be an argument with the striker market specifically. I've said this a few times. Johnny's going to get bored of me saying it because I've said it to him 12 times in the last 3 days. But I think
Yao Pedro. Just add in Yao Pedro. All the others you've missed, but throw in Yao Pedro as well.
Yeah. I just wonder whether for the first time in like 3 or 4 years that the striker market is more wet than it ever has been, to the point where there's almost more supply for top talent in the striker market than there is high level demand. And I wonder whether I'm not saying that Chelsea have made a mistake going after Liam Delap, because I think Liam Delap's going to score 20 goals next season for them. I think he's going to be a great value for money signing. But I just sit there and wonder whether or not Arteta, because from what I've heard and what I've read, Gyökeres is sitting there saying, I wanted to take a moment and just figure out what my options are before I make the decision. And then Arteta's under the scrutiny of like his fan base are just, last chance saloon for you, bro. You can't go into next season without a striker. And so if Gyökeres is like making him wait, he's gone for Benjamin Sesko. But in any event, Barcelona have ruled themselves out of a striker. If Ekitike goes to Chelsea or goes to Liverpool, then maybe Frankfurt need a replacement. Maybe Nkunku goes back to replace Sesko in Leverkusen. Where is Sesko? He's in Dortmund, isn't he? I just wonder.
Leipzig.
Sorry, Leipzig. Sorry, that's what I'm trying to think. Leipzig, that's the word. So I just wonder. I think when you look around, you go, well, who needs a striker? Well, Newcastle probably don't, right? Maybe they do, but maybe they're going to struggle with the Harry Kane conundrum with Alex Isak. How are you going to convince a top-level striker there to go and play second fiddle? So that might be problematic. But there's like 4 teams that need a striker in the Premier League, and there's maybe 1 or 2 around Europe that like top teams that need a striker. But there's like 7 strikers out there that are top gravy that haven't yet found new homes. Osimhen, Sesko, Gyökeres, Jonathan David, Ekitike, Dusan Vlahovic. There's a lot of strikers out there.
Pedro.
Sean, are you hinting at Spurs making a cheeky bid for Gyökeres?
No, what I'm saying is that I think maybe a lot of times everyone's guilty of thinking that you have to be the early bird because that's the only way you catch the worm. But I think occasionally, very, very rarely in football, but I think maybe right now there's an argument to say that patience might be a virtue.
Or are you saying that everyone goes and signs strikers and we end up getting Leonardo Damião that we've chased for the last 7 years?
Listen, does anyone think we're going into the season with Solanke as our number 1 striker again?
Oh, listen, mate, please don't get me started. Look, Sean,
no, I'm asking. No, but Johnny, I want an answer to the question. Are we going in to the season with Solanke? We can't go in with Solanke and Johnson in a forward line in Champions League football, can we? Surely.
I think he'll target other areas.
He works hard, Savva. He works hard. He runs a lot. You can't rule out those 9 goals.
Solanke pressed more than any other centre forward this season. In the Premiership.
Great.
Brilliant. So what's that got to do with putting the ball in the net?
I'm just saying it was. I think it was in one of the papers this weekend.
Yeah,
whole thing on.
I'm never going to take away his work rate, but I'm sorry when I get a strike. Oh, hello. I wonder what was going on. I just saw the dog mounting you there. I wondered what was going on. The fact of the matter is, last summer I was so excited the fact that we're going to buy a striker that we might get Gyökeres. I've said this to Sean, he'll get bored of me saying the same thing here, that for me, Gyökeres seems to me to be viewed like Harry Kane as a one-season wonder, and yet keeps doing it season after season after season. You cannot go into the Champions League with this guy. I mean, you just can't. You need an elite striker, and I'm sorry, he's not it. Not under this coach, unless the coach comes in. For example, if Iraola came in and Iraola said, "Stop dropping deep. You're not Harry Kane, and all I want you to do is work the back line. That's it." Then maybe there's a possibility that he could up them numbers, but not for me. If you want to be,
numbers weren't horrendous though. His numbers weren't horrendous across all.
Yeah, but I'm talking about in the Premier
League they were.
But if you bring an Mbeumo and an Eze in, them numbers might increase.
They might do, but I think Eze and Maddison working together will be electric. But I just think
imagine that
you need a prolific striker if you want to be in the Champions League. And I'm sorry, he is not prolific.
Spot on. He's not. You're spot on, Johnny.
He's never been prolific. This is the problem. He's never been. It's why I didn't want him last summer. It's why I'm every year, Johnny. Like when I'm reading out players, people go, "Oh, Diblin had a breakout season," and I'm like, "No, let's stop buying people off one season. Let's go and get some. Let's go and get some players that have been there, seen it, done it."
Would you take Gyökeres? That's Gyökeres. That's what's happened with Gyökeres. Oh, well, we're not going to pay the money. He's only done it one season, and then it's the second season. And what has he got? Is it 63 goals in 58 games?
His numbers are insane.
It's explosive player.
I know what you're doing there, Sean. I see you.
Yeah, because you've been waxing lyrical about Jean-Philippe Mateta all year, right? He's a one-season wonder.
I didn't hear you ask that question. I heard you.
Yeah, I'm waiting for an answer.
I think Mateta is better than Solanke. But 100%. Do I want to sign him? No, I think we need better than Mateta. Like,
go back to Bayern Munich, get Palini out and bring Harry back.
Oh, listen, I will judge Harry Kane if he wants to come back right now to Spurs, right? But on a serious note, let's be fair. When you look at our forward line, that forward line didn't even really scare people in the Europa League. We can't be going into Champions League with Johnson, Solanke, and Odegaard, for example. We've got
average.
We can't have backdoor Johnson. Backdoor Johnson is not going to be doing it in the Champions League.
Backdoor Johnson on the Bonnie Blue Bowl.
That's why I'm not sure if we'll sign a striker, because I think that we'll be targeting the wingers. I think we'll bring in either an Eze or an Mbeumo, and then the striker might be a little bit similar to what Sean's saying. Everything might go on, and then we might try and nick the last ones. We didn't add Wissa into that as well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Sean's nailed it right from the off with his analogy. He always loves an analogy. As before, is like, everyone is at the club, everyone's at the nightclub, chatting up all the good-looking birds, which are the strikers and the midfielders, and Tottenham are sat at home, as I said, waiting for an Uber driver. And until we know who's driving the car, we can't be buying anybody, really. That's the truth. And it needs to happen in the next couple of days. And it needs to be announced to the manager, because I believe they know. I believe they know who they want, or they've already had conversations with it. And there's no way Fabio isn't lining up, players. It's just not believable otherwise. I'm sorry. And let me tell you something. I think Jed Spence will be dancing. I reckon he's gonna be so happy that Ange has gone because he's got a chance to actually prove himself with a manager who's going to give him an equal chance. I mean, listen, I'm not going to take anything away from Destiny Udogie because, in those Europa League games, he was absolutely fantastic the last 3 games. So, but
I as I said, I think that we've got to make up from we've got to learn from the disasters of the past. When we've qualified for Champions League football, it tends to be that we don't really go and get those players that the other teams are going to be scared of, And I look at the forward line and I just worry, guys. I truly worry because how many backdoor tap-ins are you going to get from Brennan Johnson against those bigger teams in the Champions League, right? Because
by the way, that will get figured out at some point, just like everything else as part of the Ange system was figured out. That will also get figured out as soon as someone goes, "Oh yeah, Brennan Johnson's the only real threat." Just don't whoever it is who's left back for whoever you're playing. Just don't sleep on Johnson. Always look over your shoulder. And as soon as that's nullified, then where do we go? Then where do we
go? Guys, I want to ask you. I want to move to. I want to listen, AB. By the way, I don't like it when people do this, right? People always do this. You find the player, and what we automatically do is find the player that didn't work
the
because they
exception
came
to the
from a
rule.
country, right? So we always go, oh my God, we can't buy so-and-so from France because Ndombele didn't work out. And it's like, yeah, but now let's look at all the French players that have worked out coming to the UK, right? Oh, we can't buy this player from Holland because Vincent Janssen didn't work out. Okay, what about Dirk Kuyt and Van Persie and Van Nistelrooy? And do you know what I mean?
What about Clinton and Jay?
Yeah, let's get him back. By the way, Stel, we see you in the comments, mate. Come
on, mate. Stel,
You've got the link. It's in your WhatsApp. Let's see you, mate. Where are you? In true Delia fashion. Let's be having you. Guys, I've seen something today and it's been doing the rounds for
oh, dear. Bonnie Blue?
No. It's been doing the rounds for about 48 hours. And it's this whole, first of all, it's this notion that all the players are behind Ange, right? And that links on to if Ange goes, Romero will go, he said. Guys, I fail to believe a centre-back that has played so little football because of injuries that Ange has caused, right? And has been a part of a defence that have conceded 65 goals this season under Ange and 61 last season under Ange, right? I fail to believe that man is going, I will only play for this club if this manager is here. What's everyone's thoughts on this? And are the players all really behind him, or is this just media talk?
Well, they are behind him. Of course, they're all behind him because he's fucking huge. They can't get past him.
I think that they are behind him. I do think that, but not everyone will be. But that'll be the same everywhere. But I don't believe that Romero's turned around. We will use the term die on a hill. I'm sure he's not said, if he goes, I'm leaving. I don't care. It's one of them where he probably backs him, but it will be if we go and get. I know we won't, but say we go and sign Guardiola, he's not going to go. But he's not Ange. So I think it's just a bit of nonsense, to be honest with you.
Yeah, load of rubbish.
Look, if they're all behind him, why are there so many lifeless, limp performances all this season?
Not all of them. I think the whole stuff in the media, they can't come out and say I don't back the manager, but some of them go a little bit further than just he's all right. They're not throwing the line with what they say.
Just guarantee you, Jed Spence would be more than happy to see the back of Ange Postecoglou.
Oh yeah.
Guarantee you, Archie Gray would be more than happy to see the back of Ange Postecoglou. Yeah. I'd even say that James Maddison would be more than happy to see the back of Ange Postecoglou. I think there's 3 or 4 players in that squad that may toe the line and keep quiet, but for everyone that's a fan of him, there's going to be another one. There's someone else that isn't because he's favourites as well. He's not someone who doesn't necessarily nurture his squad. He picks his favourites. I just wanted to ask you a question. I don't know did we touch on this earlier on? We spoke a lot about Thomas Frank, but the other news that was out today is that Marco Silva is on the list. And I'm like, if we're talking about players that aren't worth the squeeze, managers that aren't where the juice isn't worth the squeeze on the risk of the transition. Do you guys all think that would you want Marco Silva to be the next Tottenham manager?
No, not for me.
No, not my first choice.
Over Ange, yeah, over Ange. As
Did
in,
you
like,
say you love Ange?
That's my
Sack
problem.
Ange.
I'm not sure. That's the
Sav, did
problem
you say
I've
you
got
love
right now.
Ange?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said, Luke. That's exactly what I said. Yes, exactly. Look, I think with Silva, I think the interesting thing is I think he's a manager that's getting better as he gets more experienced. Yeah, I do think that the job he does at Fulham on a very limited budget again, another one that loses. We all sit and talk about Spurs, don't we? Losing Kane. That's all I've heard for 2 years. Oh, Ange just done it without Kane. These managers lose their best players every single year, don't they? Whether it's Anderson at the back, whether it's Mitrovic up front, whether it's Paulinho in midfield. Managers like that work with what they got, get the best out of them, and they do a good job. I guess the question is, can they translate that from there to there? I guess that's the question. But I think he's got better and better and better as he's getting older. I think he's learning. I don't know. What do you guys think about Silva?
I don't think he's worth the risk because he didn't do very well at Everton. I think that again, not to use anecdotal evidence, right? But there's 3 lads who work in my local co-op when I go and get my Thatchers from twice a day, and I often have a conversation with them about Marco Silva, and they say the Fulham fan base who are not overly expectant, who don't have unreasonable demands, half of them think he's good. The other half, like it's like the percentage of them that are in love with Marco Silva is very small. The percentage of them that like Marco Silva is very large, but the people that hate Marco Silva is far bigger than those that love him, and the people that dislike him is smaller than those that like him. So it's kind of like you either like him or you hate him. You don't love him nor do you dislike him, if that makes sense. And I think that, and Fulham fans don't have unreasonable expectations or demands of their fan base. Of their team. So, I don't think it's worth this. I'm again not Ange in any way, shape, or form, but I just think if we can't get better than Marco Silva, I'd almost think that's a recipe for disaster. And then on top of that, the fan base that will be like, why did you sack our most successful manager? Will just be unbearable. If we make a decision here and we go in a direction and it doesn't work out, those people that are Ange in like they'll be unbearable if we make a decision.
Can I ask you before the others come in? Let me ask you. This is the interesting thing, right? I think Lubo touched upon this earlier, and it's something Danny always says to me. What is success next season for whoever the manager is? Because, like Lubo said, we haven't got the safety blanket next season of the Europa League. So when you're playing in the Champions League, teams tend to play the best team in the league and then the Champions League. So it'll be every 3 or 4 days. So what is success? What does it look like success next season? Because if the metric's just going to be winning a European competition, well, I hate to break it to anyone, I can't see Spurs winning the Champions League. We're not winning the Premier League. So is success an FA Cup or a League Cup? And then you've got Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, City, Villa, Newcastle, Palace. Everyone's going to be saying that. So what is success next season for whoever the manager is?
2 answers. You've got 2 answers to say. You've got 2 answers. You got with Ange and without Ange. With Ange, success next season is 17th place. That's success because we wouldn't have been relegated. And I'm serious about that. I said this months ago.
You're never going to get relegated, mate.
If he carries on next season, Leeds will be better than the 3 that came up this year, Sean.
There's no chance in a million years. I'm saying this out loud. Imagine, but there's no chance that Tottenham get relegated.
No, it's not. It's not happening.
Not happening. The gulf between, like, you might be right, Lubo, that there might be like maybe I don't think Leeds will be good enough. I think they'll go straight back down again, like the others who will. But there's an outside chance. There's an outside chance. But just bear in mind that if Tottenham were a genuine threat for relegation this season, I would imagine that Ange or Daniel Levy would say, "Listen, like you're not prioritizing the Europa League over a relegation battle. So you fucking make sure you put your best 11 out against Ipswich."
Look, let's be honest, right? Look, the season is going to be far, far harder. There's going to be no allowance for it. But next season is going to be far, far harder than this season because we have the Champions League. We cannot rest players like we did in the Europa League. This is the facts. Will there be an allowance for it? No. All the Ange apologists will give this next person, whoever it is, absolutely no leeway. But for me, a good season would be getting through to the next round of the Champions League, right? So the knockout stage, whether we got to play a game, because, you know, let's be honest, PSG just scraped through, Real Madrid just scraped through, and so did Manchester City into the knockout stage. A good league campaign where we are competitive. That's all we want to be. We want to be competitive, right?
That's it. That's it.
And
Johnny, what does that mean? Because when in football we use words like success, competitive.
No, well, I mean competitive.
Okay, so Luke, so hang on, Johnny. So if I said to you next season Spurs are going to do what we said there, get out of the league phase of the Champions League, and Spurs are going to finish 6th, is that competitive? Are we talking 5th? What are we talking about?
5th, right. So I would say a very successful season in the real world of juggling a proper tournament against big teams and being competitive in the league. Bearing in mind that Ange Postecoglou said it's impossible to have a league campaign and be in the extremely difficult Europa League, playing teams like Karabag, Elfsborg and the like. So, you know, by that metric, this next season is going to be infinitely more difficult. So I just think that for me, I'd like to see us competitive. And what I mean by that is that we can beat the top 6, that we can go up there and we're still battling come April time to get in that top 5, that we got something to play for. There's some excitement that we haven't written off the season. And we maybe have a good cup run, that we get to a semi-final or a final, or we have a very good run in the Champions League. I don't necessarily feel that this next manager that's coming in is going to be burdened with the fact, well, he's not as good as, didn't do as well as Ange. You just know it. I can write it now. He didn't do as well as Ange. He didn't do as well as Ange. Whoever it is, even if it's Inzaghi, he's not as good as Ange because Ange won a trophy. I'm not even going to listen to it. Don't want to listen to it.
Well, let me bring in Chris. Chris, a few people in the chat said we haven't heard from you for a while. Chris, we've had chats in our WhatsApp group, right, where I've posed hypotheticals, Chris, of would you be happy with 2nd place next season and no trophies? And I've been told that would be failure, right? So which is absolutely mind-blowing to me. Sorry, just quickly, what's your idea of success next season, Chris?
I just want the club to be on a trajectory where I think we can re-establish ourselves amongst the top 6 going forward over the next few years, because it's all very well just to go trophy, but there's an undeniable correlation between teams that win things and teams that finish high in the league, right? That's not to say, for anyone who doesn't understand basic stats, correlation doesn't mean it's not 100%, right? So you'll always have an outlier of a team who crops up here and there, like a Wigan or a Birmingham or a Tottenham this season, who doesn't do very well and wins a trophy. But the vast majority do well in the league. So that's an indicator of how likely are we to be successful over the next few seasons. So I want us to get back to that. And as Johnny was just saying, I just want I want us to have the possibility. I'm not expecting us to beat Liverpool or even Arsenal necessarily, but I want to go to the game thinking that maybe if our star player, whether that's Eze or whoever, has a great game, maybe we can just get a result and not go to game after game after game where I'm thinking we'll probably be embarrassed. I'll probably see goals that we can see that are exactly the same as I saw last week. And sadly, I was right more often than I was wrong when I thought that. And that's the thing for me. I want a reason, Savva, to be honest. When it's match day, I want to get up in the morning and think, I really can't wait for the game. And not,
Agreed.
I don't want to go.
Do you know the thing is, Chris? Chris, the thing that makes me laugh about this now is because we've won one trophy, suddenly all these fans are expecting we're going to win a trophy every season, right? And no one wins a trophy every season. Man City this year did not win a trophy, right? Man City did not win a trophy. I think that we've got to learn the difference as a bunch of fans between cups and getting better as a club. And getting better as a club means getting higher up that table. Now, we're 17th. Right now, if you said to me next season we're going to finish in the top 6, I'm biting your hand off because we're 17th. We're 11 places off what I'm suggesting, right? But what will happen is Johnny is 100% right. What will happen is if a manager comes in, gets top 6, right, gets out of Champions League but doesn't make it to the quarters or semis, everyone will be going, Ange would have won that. Ange won a European trophy.
It won't even get that far. So it won't even get that far because the Ange fans will be doing in the first 10 games, you know what they'll be saying.
But the thing is, it's also about your priorities as a club. Like the best example is a Liverpool and City. If you said to Manchester City before they won a Champions League, look, you're not going to challenge in the next 3 leagues, but you'll win a Champions League, they would have took it. Whereas if you offered the same deal to Liverpool, they'd have been like, no, we just want to win a league because we haven't won a league for so long. And that's the same, like with Spurs, we was in a situation where getting the cup was so key. And it meant that the league form, well, it shouldn't mean, but the league form was dreadful. That won't be accepted next year. That cannot be accepted next year. As I said previously,
look,
we can't go win an FA Cup to be acceptable.
Look, do you know what I always say, right? And this is the funny thing. And you guys have all heard me say this. The difference between us and other fan bases, right, is how many of those other fan bases would not have lost their absolute mind if their manager was sitting 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th for nearly all of the season, right? How many of those fan bases didn't invite Danny on, but here he is anyway? How many of those fan bases would have accepted that, right? So when we sit here, Luke, and we go, yes, 17th is all right because we won a trophy. Next season, if Mikel Arteta's in the bottom half, if Maresca's in the bottom half, yeah, if Slot is in the bottom half, this is the difference between us and them, Luke. We will get away with it because our standards are now so low. They're so low that we're accepting 17th. I've never known anything like it.
Because we haven't won something for so long. Again, if in 2-3 years' time, finishing anywhere near the bottom half will just not be acceptable, regardless of what competition you're in or how close you're getting to winning stuff. The monkey's off the back.
Luke,
well, I can only speak for me.
There are fans having a go at me for saying, so Savva, you wouldn't take 15th in the FA Cup. No, I bloody wouldn't take 15 in the FA Cup. Why?
Absolutely not.
Why would I take 15th in an FA Cup? Show me we're a good team over 38 league games.
And a FA Cup, yeah, great.
Even if you said to me, all right, we're going to finish top 7 and win the FA Cup, I'd go, you know what? Yes, because it's not 17th. But why are we suddenly, as half a fan base, accepting bottom half of the table? It's utter craziness.
It should be a one-off in my eyes. It should be a complete
one-off. It's got to be a one-off. It's got to be.
And it will.
I meant from a fan perspective. I mean, from a fan perspective, that should be a case of, as I said, we haven't won a trophy in so long. We'll accept whatever we can, but from now on, that cannot happen. I don't understand how you can say finishing 17th and winning a cup.
If anyone's thinking about 17th, just had sent through to me last few minutes. Club's last 66 Premier League games, which is from the Chelsea game for Spurs. Going down, Bournemouth 98, Brighton 92 points, Forest 91, Palace 90, Fulham 89, Man United 87, Everton 86, Brentford 82, West Ham 81, Spurs 78, Wolves 76. That's for all the clubs that have been in the Premier League in the last 2 years. Obviously, not including the 3 that went down last season and this season. So we are second from bottom. There you go. Bournemouth have 20 points more than Spurs in the last 6 games.
Rio was not good enough for us.
Go into your first.
About that.
Your question, Savva, for me, in terms of what will be successful, it depends on the transfer window. If we go out and sign your Diblins and players like that, then it will be one expectation. But if we go and get your Ezes and that sort of thing, it will be different. But I think that top 7, forget about cups and that, I think top 7, top 6 is the minimum requirement. And I don't mean that that's a good season. I mean, that's the absolute minimum that we should be aiming for.
Even when we had those sort of even when we've had those transfer windows, I still don't remember Spurs ever finishing 17th. Like
no. I'm not. No, what I'm saying is, if that will be a dependent on in terms of if we go and we don't sign any of the top players that we need to go. But if we go and we get a competitive, let's say, regardless of who the manager, we get a competitive squad at the start of this season, we should be looking to finish top 7, top 6. Forget about cups. If you win a cup, that's a complete bonus. The league form now needs to improve. As you said, the trajectory of the club, where it's going, you need to finish higher up the table, and that's it for me.
Can I say, though, Luke, the thing is, we saw that what happened with Aston Villa, we saw what happened with Newcastle when they've had Champions League football, trying to juggle Champions League football and a Premier League campaign. It can be very troublesome. We saw that Newcastle couldn't manage it. We saw that Aston Villa this season did very well in the Champions League, but they struggled and didn't make it. So I'm not sure with this fan base, with the Ange apologists out there, that like what Chris says before, I don't even think we'll get through 10 games before they start comparing what Ange did. And I hate to think, where we will be. It's going to be his first season, bearing in mind that Ange in his first season with no European football managed to finish the season falling off a cliff and dropped out of the top 4 into 5th position.
With one game a week.
Which ironically saved him his job, because if we was in the Champions League this year, he would have been gone by Christmas.
Correct. And the funny thing is, he said, the guy's full of shit, right? The guy turned around and said, I don't have enough games to implement my stuff. And then what does he say this season? He's too many games.
Oh, it's injuries, Johnny. It's injuries.
The injuries.
Johnny, don't sit on the fence. What do you really think of him, though?
I listen. I won't be getting an Ange tattoo. Let's be putting it like that.
I thought you were, Johnny.
No, listen, I've taken so much shit. And, Sean said to me this morning, he said, you know what, Johnny? I said, fair play to you, because, you've managed to grow a thick skin. I said, thick skin? I've fucking got a rhinoceros skin now, because when I first came into this game, faces, I used to get DMs calling me all sorts of things. But in the YouTube sphere and the Twitter sphere, you get called some terrible things. And I've just decided, you know what? I don't care. I don't read it. But if I did, the amount of things I've been called since I've been calling Ange out since February 2024, I wouldn't be able to come on anymore if I read it.
I was thinking about changing my my intro music to "Many Men Wish Death Upon Me." I've had so many death threats in this game. It's been a wild 3 years.
It's mad, isn't it?
As
Sean, when I say things people like that, people always go, "Oh, you're such a liar. No one said that." And when I show people that, they're like, "Oh, wow, that happens." Yeah.
How about people wishing death upon Bugsy?
Me not liking Football Manager.
Taking it too far, mate.
Hope you die. And what I like about it, Sean, when they tell you to die, the best thing is they're always very specific about the method of dying. It's never just die. It's I want you to die in a house fire. And you're like, like that's really.
Oh, mine's really choking. I normally get the choking. I hope you choke to death slowly.
Yeah. You should. Danny Kiriakou. I feel like Stell sent you on in place.
He did.
Come on, Danny. You're someone who wants to finish 17th and win an FA Cup, aren't you, Danny? Come on.
Of course, mate. No, mate, do you know what, Sav? Do you know what it is? I think you're gonna miss the best song of all, right? Through it all, we're playing the way we want to. With Postecoglou, whether I'm right or wrong.
That's my ringtone. That's my ringtone, mate.
When did that
It's Johnny's ringtone. It's Savva's ringtone.
Just quickly, apart from after the final, when was the last time we actually heard that song being belted out in the stadium after a win? I don't remember it.
Hey, guys,
was it Chelsea? Was it the Chelsea game?
The Chelsea game. Chelsea game.
Take you back, guys. Can I just take you back, right? Because I was desperately looking for it, but Twitter wouldn't allow me. I wanted to repost again that scene in the 97th minute. I think it was about 3 games in when we beat the mighty Sheffield United. And all the players ran off the bench. And there were scenes like we just beaten Real Madrid in extra time, right, to win the trophy. And I look back on that moment now and thinking, see how blind he was. He'd been here like 2 minutes and he already had converted this fan base into like a cult. And look, you know, we did that one. We got that one out of the way. Sheffield United, one of the worst teams to ever be in the league. We just about beat them in the 97th. Then we went on and somehow beat a Liverpool team with the help of referees and VAR in the most like crazy decision. Listen, I don't know how we got to 10 games unbeaten. I don't know how we did it.
So talking about cult members, Danny has joined the cult. How does it feel, Danny?
Not in any cult whatsoever. I'm on my own opinions. There's no F this cult.
The cult of Ange. Come on, Danny.
You've got a more rubbery arm than Henry Wright, mate. If I said to you,
Danny, you joined it, mate.
Danny, you revolution.
Oh, that's funny, mate. You're the one who bought the book, not me.
all members of the cult. That's what they get.
Yeah, I wonder why something got sent to you.
That's all that's been written in it is suggestions of TV shows to watch.
I like Lee. Oh, brilliant.
Come on, then, Danny. Why
do on Saturday at 3 p.m.
No,
that's for Sean. That one's for you, Sean.
No, I just want to say, like, I think with I know obviously what everyone's opinion is on Ange, and I'm going to stick to what I said before, which is basically, I understand if the club make the decision, right, if they're going to give him a chance, right? I understand it because of what's happened. But I also understand if they sack him, and I'm happy for whatever happens, right? I've said this many times. I'm on the fence of it because I don't really care what happens. Because
you can never be wrong if you sit on a fence, can you?
No, but it's not even about Savva. It's not. Even, I don't give a shit if I'm. I know you are, but I don't care if I'm wrong or not, right? Because end of the day, I just want Spurs to be a very successful team, competitive in everything they do, right? Again, it's going to go back to the fundamental flaw, which is Mr. Ian Lubo right over there in the corner with that beautiful face that he just showed up. That's always going to be the problem, right? So to me, I don't care who the manager is. I really couldn't care less, right? Whether it's Ange Postecoglou, Ryan Mason, Mr. Bean, I really couldn't give a shit, like, honestly, right? That's why, like, with Thomas Frank, whoever it is, whatever happens, it's going to be a gamble. If Ange genuinely gets given a chance, I'm of the opinion that as much as I wouldn't mind him being given a chance, unless the geezer changes his philosophy and tactics, right, in the Premier League, like Johnny said, he's not going to make it past 10 games. That's the honest truth. He just won't. Because what's going to happen is, regardless of how, look, we might play better football if we have better quality up front. You know, I'll give you an example. You have Eze on the left wing. You have I don't know, up front. You have Zay. What was it? Sean, we were saying the other day, Jonathan David up front. And who was the right winger we said that we were looking at? Mbeumo, right? Right. You have that front three. I guarantee you, even with Ange's football, we're going to score more goals than what we're scoring right now. So we may outscore more teams than what we are doing because we've got better quality up front, people who can put the ball in the back of the net, but better in transitions.
Danny, the point.
No, let me finish it. Let me finish it.
I'll say let me land.
Right. So no, I don't use that terminology. That's just child play terminology. Anyway, I mean, we're not flying a plane here. Do you know what I mean? We're having a debate. Like, do you know what I'm saying? It's like what kids say, let's land, bro. Yeah, land, bro. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, right? Yeah. Right. So what I'm saying is, as much as we still could be better off than what we are right now, and we all know we are a much better team than where we finished in the league, right? But Ange has to change. He has to be more tactically aware in the opponents to the opponents that we play. My opinion is that I don't think that he will do that, which is why I think if he is given a chance, I think within the first 10 games he's sacked, right? But the problem with doing that, right, from a business perspective and from a team perspective is you go and give a manager money to go and get players in the summer window. You go and get some experienced players, right? If we do, and then what? He gets sacked 10 games in. It's just you've lost the whole season again, and you've got players that have been brought in for a manager who's just been sacked. It doesn't make any logical or business sense whatsoever, right? So I can understand the other views of if you get rid of him, you can start a whole new process now with someone else, right? Which, again, I actually feel that's what's probably going to happen. I genuinely feel that's what's going to happen.
Danny, can I ask you, when you say a brand new, when you say a brand new process, what I hear quite a lot, guys, is, oh my God, we want to start a new project again.
Guys,
We're
trust the
17th.
process, guys.
Like, no, we're 17th. Like for me, there is no project. After 2 years of this manager being at the club, we've ended up as the worst team in the league other than the teams that get relegated. So the new manager coming in, for me, has got a blank slate to work with because it can't get worse. Other than relegation, he can't be worse.
Right. I look, I don't disagree with that, right? But the fact is, we won the Europa League playing a different style of football to what his philosophy
And then behind the ball.
is, right?
Sure.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. We still played a different way, which tells you if he wants to, he can play a different way of football.
Danny,
right?
Well,
I'm not saying. Hold on. Let me finish the point. Then you can debate it. Right? If we play a different style of football, because the argument is that he can't tactically change. If the argument is he can't tactically change, that's a load of shit. It's a lie because he can and he did it. Right? But to say that he does it in the league over 38 league games is a different scenario, right? You got to be an idiot if you think that you can't take that into account, right? You got to be an idiot, really, honestly, right?
Take what into account?
What I'm saying,
but Danny, you do realise sticking 10 men behind the ball
is different than the knockout
Yeah,
football. It's
but
very
Danny,
different, right?
Danny,
You can't have 115 passes. You can't have 115.
hang
No,
on,
that's
hang on,
not
hang
the
on,
argument. That's not the argument. I'm not
Danny.
disagreeing with that. Go on.
Danny, sticking 10 men behind the ball and defending for your lives is not a style of play, right?
It's called parking the bus.
That's called parking a bus to get over the line.
Again,
that's not a new
I don't
style.
disagree with that. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. You're missing the point, right? What I'm saying is he can change it if he wants to, right? He can. The fact
Can
is,
change, won't
in the
change.
league,
Yeah.
exactly this.
I think that's what Danny's saying.
Danny, the problem is, mate, I think I got your point. The problem is, mate, is that you just made the argument that if you bring in that front three, right, Jonathan David on the up top and Leroy Sané on the right, or Mbemo on the right, and Eze on the left, yeah, we might score more goals. That's fine, right? That's a fine. Yes, sure. But this squad that he has right now finished 17th, and if we're honest, this squad, even with the injuries, is far, far better than 17th in this league.
I know that.
It's probably 7th or 8th best squad in the league, probably even 6th if fully fit for long enough. So maybe even, I don't know, it's around there, somewhere between 5th and 8th, right? So to make the argument that there's a justification for him to stay on the provision that he gets 3 needle movers at the top end of the pitch, that's not unacceptable. You can make the same argument for Donald Duck. Donald Duck could do better, like if you add those 3 at the top end of the pitch. I just think that it's a crazy argument to sit there and say, let's forget what's happened in the league this year because we should give him the tools that he needs to do better. He had enough tools to do far better this year than he did.
Yeah, and I agree with that, Jordan.
That's the main takeaway.
I don't disagree. All I'm saying is I'm doing a devil's advocate point of view, right? If you on the actual forefront of this whole debate, right? The fact is, if he wants to, he can change it. And I'm sure that he could do better in the league if in certain games he plays a certain style and against certain teams he plays a certain style. Like, for example, against Man City, we played counter-attacking football and we beat them 4-0. That's just one example, right? There are, again, Brentford away. We played a lot more on the break, right? They were all over us that game, but we still came away with a win that time, and they hadn't been beaten at home all season, right? And we hadn't won a game in a while, right? So what I'm trying to say is that I'm not trying to say, yes, that's the reason we give him a chance. I'm saying that he can do it if he wants to.
The fact that he didn't do it is the reason why you don't give him a chance.
Yeah, but my
Adios,
opinion,
muchachos. Adios. Thank you, Danny. Good to see you. I'm not leaving because you've just.
And you, Johnny.
Mate. Okay, make sure Danny lands, whatever you do. Love you all, guys. See you later.
What Danny's saying is,
I'm going to land the plane, yeah?
Ange literally has to go gung-ho or ultra defensive. He's got no in-between to transition, has he? He's got no in-between. Have you noticed every time?
We haven't.
Hang on. Every time Spurs have had to get over the line to save this man's job, we have next to no shots on goal. We don't create anything. We just park the bus. And everyone's going, this means he can adapt. No, adapting means you can find a middle ground between defending and attacking and a transition. This man has shown for 2 years he can't do it. The odd thing for me with all of this, and this is when I debate with you, with Stel, with whoever else, Danny, is this notion that because he won the Europa League by putting 10 men behind the ball means that he's capable of changing when he's, what is he, 59?
Don't put words into my mouth. I didn't say he's capable of changing in that way.
Okay, but by condoning him being here, we're saying that he is capable of change.
Again, you're putting words into my mouth, Sav. Don't put words into my mouth. I'm saying,
Danny, listen to Danny, listen to what I just said. Danny, listen to what I just said. I said by people saying, right, so don't come on and do your angry Danny Kiriakou thing. I'm too tired for that, right? By people condoning him.
Well, don't put words into my mouth then.
Danny, shut up, mate. Stop, please.
Go on.
By people condoning him being here, right? They are saying that it's going to change from what we've seen this year, right? But he won a European trophy. If he hasn't changed in 2 years, why is he suddenly going to change now? No one can tell me why.
Savva,
he's 59. He's stuck in his ways. This is how he plays.
First of all, let's get to the actual fact. When did I say I want Ange to stay? I've never said that once.
Danny, what are you going on about, mate? Danny, you've completely lost me, mate. I don't know where you're.
Dan, I'm lost as well.
I'm confused.
Because again, no one's listening.
No
one is listening. Listen to the words that come out of my mouth.
Danny, did you not tell me you're Ange last time I saw you?
No.
You sure?
Never. I have never said Ange in. No, I've never said Ange in.
I think what Danny's trying to say is he can see it from both sides. The fact that Ange got over the line and won the trophy. Okay. And so there is a reason to keep him, whether we think there's more reasons to get rid of him. But there's truth on both sides. There is truth on both sides.
Look, we understand all that.
Completely on the fence.
But I can't get an answer from anyone.
Who the manager is.
I can't get an answer from anyone, Luke, because if this manager does stay, what have they seen that makes them think he will change? He's played the same style of football for years and years and years and years and years. All of those games where he adapted, Luke, in the Europa League, he went straight back to the Premier League and went, let's be Bonnie Blue again, right? And everyone went, but it doesn't matter. Well, if you can adapt, why would you not adapt in the Premier League?
I think that's the question. I think that's more of the question.
It's not the question. That's almost the answer. The answer is not why should we give Ange any more time in case he does that. Is the fact is that he had the chance to do it and didn't do it. And there's your answer as why he has to go. I still maintain though, for people like Marco Silva, I'm not sure it's worth the roll of the dice. But for Thomas Frank, kind of like maybe, I'm not sure, but probably. I'm okay with Thomas Frank, but Marco Silva, I'll be very underwhelmed.
And just to be clear as well, I didn't want Ange. I wasn't like when we signed Ange going, oh my God, this is unbelievable. So if Frank is the one that comes in, I'm not going to sit here and be like, that's it. Get rid of him. He's useless or anything like that. Everyone has to have a chance because he could completely prove me wrong and go on and become that manager that can step up.
I saw a great comment a few minutes ago. Danny, would you consider yourself Ange Gnostic?
What's that? Ange Gnostic.
They are.
Ange don't care.
They are because it means at the end of the summer, Lubo, they can turn around and go, I was happy either way. I don't have an opinion. I'm happy
every single football fan is a flip-flop, right? And they don't listen to what people actually say. They listen to what they want to hear, right? I've always said for the last 2 years, I've said for the last couple of years, I don't give a shit who the manager is, right? As soon as Conte got sacked, I said, I don't care who the manager is because my stance was nothing in this club's ever going to change. Winning the Europa League was it was a lot of luck.
That changed, didn't it?
A lot of
that was something that changed, right?
But the thing is,
so you were wrong,
Sean.
So you were wrong then?
No. The thing is, you
don't care who the manager is. Ever going to change? We won a Europa League first in 40 years. Something massive changed.
Yeah, but you're saying that's all down to Daniel Levy? Is that what it was?
I'm not. So that the argument you're making that Daniel Levy's coming to this is that the argument we're making now?
Because what I'm saying is, all of you fans here sitting here
Daniel
saying
Levy is
you want to be.
right?
You want. Hold on. You said you want Spurs to be competitive and you want it to be competing at the top of the table in the top 6, and then in the top in competitions, right? In all competitions we play in, Champions League, whatever. To do that, you need quality, right?
Yeah, Danny,
you need
quality.
Wait. How are you going to get quality?
You just said,
how do we get quality?
Going to change, which I found that just in the inference there, that you're saying that basically, unless Daniel Levy changes, nothing's going to change. So by proxy of that, what you're actually saying is that the buck stops at the top. And if that is what you're saying, then yes, Daniel Levy is entirely responsible for winning that trophy, because the buck stops at the top is for the good and for the bad. So if you think that the reason why Tottenham have always failed is because of Daniel Levy, then the fact that we won the trophy is also Daniel Levy's fault, and therefore it did change. Daniel Levy did do it, so please give him his flowers.
No.
Otherwise, you're inconsistent.
First of all, Sean, Daniel Levy didn't win that trophy. That's
well,
wrong.
He did by the rationale.
No. All of you are debating about Ange, right? About him playing a certain way of football, but yet he defied everything against what Ange's do, what he stands for, to go and win the trophy, right? That's what he did. You're debating literally about Ange, right? So the fact that Ange went completely against everything. No. Ange went completely against everything. Right, he went against everything, Sean. Right,
Danny,
and he played absolutely. You just said it yourself. He played park the bus football and go and win a trophy. Right, when no one expected us to go and win a trophy.
When Conte left, it didn't matter who the next manager was.
I didn't care.
That's what you said, right? Because why?
I didn't care, yeah.
Because Daniel Levy was the problem, right?
What all of you want is never going to happen.
Because Daniel Levy's the problem, right?
Is what?
Right.
Because Daniel Levy is the problem.
Right.
Danny, yes or no? Yes or no?
He is always the problem. He's always going to be the problem.
He's the problem. So he's the problem. But you said nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
Because Daniel Levy's the problem. But something did change.
Let me ask you a question.
We won a trophy.
Right. Okay. Go on.
Let me sleepwalk you into your logic into an.
I've already got the answer.
And I'll slap you around. Okay. So.
No, you won't, Sean. Because I'm going to show you something that's going to shut your opinion right down and show how delusional you actually are. Right. And you're not thinking in your head.
Right,
let me absolutely rip your opinion apart. Come on, then.
Nothing is going to change.
I haven't said the words.
Hang on, Danny. I just want to get you into this corner here. So back into this corner. It doesn't matter who the next manager is, because nothing's going to change because Daniel Levy's the problem. Except something did change, right? We won the European trophy for there. We won the first trophy for 40 years in European football, which is a major deal. Okay. And so by your logic, which is the buck stops at the top, then when you get to the fact that you win a trophy, by your logic, the buck stops at the top, which means that Daniel Levy gets all of the credit by your logic, not by my logic, but by your logic, that Daniel Levy gets all of the credit for the good. Yes, because the buck stops at the top for the bad.
Ange gets the credit. Ange gets the credit for your
so Daniel Levy's responsible for the bad, but not for the good. Okay, that makes sense.
Right. I'll tell you why. I'm gonna tell you exactly why. Right. I'm gonna tell you exactly why. There's no hook, Sean. Right. So, what do all of you want for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club? Let's ask you one by one. What do you actually want for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club?
Just answer the question.
Sean, what do you want?
No, just answer the question.
I'm going to answer it by you telling me what you want.
No.
Don't
just
flip them around.
Tell me how it is. Tell me how it is that the buck stops at the top for the bad, but not for the good.
Well, when you answer the question, I can give you my answer.
Yeah, please do.
No, answer the question. I'll give you my answer.
Just explain to me how it is.
I'm not going to answer it until
I know you're not, because you can't answer it because it's illogical. It's a fallacy.
No, it's not illogical.
Be competitive.
What do you want? What do you want as a Spurs fan? You're all sitting here talking about Ange wanting to get rid of Ange for what? What's the reason for getting rid of Ange? What? What's the reason?
We've lost every week.
That's right. What do you want to compete with? What compete with what? Compete with who?
Top clubs.
Right. Compete with who?
Arsenal's, Liverpool, City's. That's who we want to compete with.
How do we compete with Arsenal, Liverpool, City?
With new owners.
How? There you go. Right. So all of you are sitting here, Luke, not your opinion, but the majority of people want what you just said. Right. They want to compete with Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool.
Because you just got really upset.
Because Sav, you don't answer the question, do you, Savva? You don't want to answer it, do you? Because you don't know what you want. You don't know what you want as a Spurs fan, do you?
I've answered this a million times.
Danny,
do you know the difference?
Savva, I'm out, mate. I'm gone. I'm gone.
The difference
tonight,
between me
guys.
and you, Danny, right?
Evening, everyone.
See you,
I'm
Dan.
gone.
Thanks,
See you
mate.
later,
Dan.
Take care.
The difference between me and you, Danny, right, is not everything that comes out of my mouth has to be about Daniel Levy, right? Sean has absolutely tied you up in knots with your own
He hasn't
theory.
tied me nothing. He hasn't tied me up with nothing, Savva. Because all of you are missing the point. You're all missing the point. Every single one of you.
Let me talk, right? I can't shout because people are sleeping. Let me talk, right? At the end of the day, you can't ask for change, right? And we want Daniel Levy to change, to adapt to men. Daniel Levy, in any of the last 24 years, would have sacked Ange 6 months ago, right?
Right.
Everyone said, no, keep him in. He can win the Europa League. Daniel Levy didn't pull the trigger. Daniel Levy's allowed that guy to win the trophy that you lot are all telling me to smile about. Like, I think people want this 24/7. People in the chat going, why aren't you smiling? It was 11 days ago. Like, surely I don't need to grin, right? So Daniel Levy's changed and adapted. Doesn't mean you have to like him, but you can acknowledge that he did that. And the fact that you won't acknowledge that he did that shows that it's not a balanced argument.
No. Again, you're putting words into my mouth. I never said I didn't acknowledge. I didn't acknowledge him. I never ever said I didn't acknowledge him.
I don't know what you. That can't be your answer.
When did I say I don't acknowledge Daniel Levy for doing what we did? Right? Of course, if you are a fucking moron, right, you would sit here and say, oh, he hasn't played absolutely no role whatsoever. You've got to be the most dumbest person on the planet to actually say that, right? No, I never said that. Those words never came out my mouth, Sean. Right?
You said Levy's not responsible.
Again, you're not listening. Again, no. Again, you don't listen. It's all assumptions with you, right? You just think you know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. That's the problem.
You said Ange is responsible. Levy's not. Ange is. But yet Levy's responsible for all the bad. That's where the buck doesn't stop.
Right. No, let me. If you let me say my point, right, then you might understand and listen, right? Do you know what these are, Sean? It's called ears, right? Do you know how to listen with your ears, right? So use your ears to listen, right?
You said,
right.
Just like
I'm gonna say this,
as well.
right? I'll say this, Sean. I'll say this, right? Right. Of course, the owner or the chairman of the club is always going to play a role, regardless of the downfall, regardless of any honors that we win, because at the end of the day, he's the guy that makes decisions at the top of the club, right? Like in any business, right? But in terms of directly affecting the outcome of that final, right? In that final, like you said in the Champions League final, and we always use this argument, you always use the argument against Daniel Levy or for Daniel Levy, he wasn't managing the team in the final, was he? No, he was not, right? Who was managing the team in the final? Postecoglou. No. Don't flip-flop your decision now based on the argument I'm saying right
with
now.
your logic.
You can't flip-flop it.
Whatever logic you want to work with, mate.
No.
Whatever logic
I
you
used
want,
to say
I can work
we didn't
with.
win the
But
Champions
your logic
League.
is the one
We didn't
that-
win the Champions League because Daniel Levy didn't invest into the squad. And you said, no, it was Pochettino that made the decisions, that reason why we didn't lose.
So on that
why we lost
logic,
the final.
Daniel Levy's not responsible for all that's wrong either, right?
By that logic, you can't say Daniel Levy, you can't say Ange Postecoglou hasn't directly influenced that final. Right?
I know, 100%. I'm not the person that says the buck stops at the top. I'm not the person.
Right.
You are. You're the person who says the buck stops at the top.
What I'm saying to you, Sean, it's always going to stop at the top, right? Because all of you are discussing the manager situation, right? Who the manager's going to be, whatever. I've just said to you, I couldn't give a shit who the manager is, because until I see the mentality change, right, with Daniel Levy in terms of the transfer window and getting quality in, that we're actually going to show me that we're going to compete at the level that Luke has said he wants Tottenham to compete at, then I'm not going to change my stance on it. It doesn't matter who the manager is, because all we're going to see is, if we see a Thomas Frank come in, right? Okay, fine, whatever. That's the decision he's made. But are we going to see Eze's come in? Are we going to see top players come in, right? That's what I want to see for Spurs. I don't want to see Brennan Johnsons. I don't want to see Dominic Solankis. I don't want to see Tells come in. I want to see top players come in. That's what I want to see, right? It doesn't matter who the manager is. It honestly doesn't matter, because until I see that, whoever the manager is, I'm always going to feel that what we want as Spurs fans.
Daniel Levy is the problem. Daniel Levy is the problem for all that's bad. But whenever there's some good, but Daniel. So
just
Daniel
like
Levy,
you said, Sean, about Pochettino in the Champions League.
Hey, I've heard you, bro. I've heard you. Just to summarize, by your logic, right? The buck stops at the top. By my logic, the buck doesn't stop at the top. My logic is that the people that are on the pitch dictate the outcomes on the pitch, and they get the credit where it's due, and they get the blame where it's due. But like always, there is a pizza pie of blame. Everyone gets a slice. Of course, Daniel Levy gets a slice of the pie for all that's been wrong, and a slice of the pie for what's been good. But by your logic, which is that the buck stops at the top, then by that logic, Daniel Levy is responsible for the trophy win.
I never said that, Sean.
I know you don't say that, but you should say that by your logic. That's the way logic works.
Because
mate.
my logic, I just explained my logic. I just explained my logic, right? It doesn't.
Yes, your logic is not logical. It's illogical.
No, it's not. It's logical. You just have to listen. Listen to what I just said. Just listen. You have to listen.
I'm done. Go on, carry on. Move on.
You have to listen, mate. You have to listen. Why is it that Daniel Levy, right? What's the thing, right? What's the thing that Spurs fans want the most? They want to compete, right? So the only way we compete is by the owners investing in the team in the right way, not spending money on stupid players, right?
Okay.
So how do we do that? Daniel Levy has to change his ambition. Yes, he might have shown us a glimpse of him changing by keeping Ange Postecoglou in, right? But none of us can sit here and say we know why he did that. None of us can say that. So it's all assumptions and opinions, right? It's not factual-based evidence. Well, none of us know why Daniel Levy did it.
But you can say for a fact that he did do it, Dan.
I'll tell you something. Let me finish the point, right? For all we know, I could sit and say Ange Postecoglou got a hypnotist to hypnotize Daniel Levy and said, give me the chance at the end of the season. I'm going to win you the Europa League and you're going to get Champions League football and Champions League money. For all we know, that could be true, but we don't know. So you can't speculate on what we don't know. We can just have an opinion on it, right? And that's the truth.
Dan, the truth is, again, if you go behind it and you want to dig deeper, I get it. But if you want to go by the fact, Daniel Levy did so. The fact Daniel Levy did adapt. The fact that Daniel Levy done everything a total different way. That is a fact. Why he done it or not is something we won't know because we can't get inside his head. So the fact is, like you're saying, the fact is that Ange adapted during the last two games. The fact is that Levy has adapted over a season. Now, the thing is with this whole thing with Levy is I'm a believer that it works, it stops to the top, basically. And Levy was getting slated all season, as he does, which he was deserving, that it all comes back to him because he employed the people who employed Ange and everything else. So it's down to Levy's fault for getting another crap manager and set at that club. All of a sudden, Ange goes and wins something. I mean, couldn't have been more lucky if he tried, really. Yeah. Ange now gets credit and deserves a chance. So on a logical way, the way I see it, I'll speak for myself here, yeah? Then Levy's got to get credit and so are the others as well, because they're the ones who employed with him and stuck by him. Now, the other thing I feel that everyone is so one-minded on Levy. I try to be both sides. I try to be open-minded and realistic. I don't want Levy here for the long term, what he's done. But with a lot of Levy out, if it focuses all the time on he's bad, but doesn't get one bit of credit for when he does do good, even if it is 1 out of a million, it then makes the Daniel Levy lot look very one-sided, and they're not going to listen to any other way or any other means of change or anything. And this is where the next protests are going to show. Were most of those protests for actually Daniel Levy out, or was it Ange out? He's got to get credit where it's due at the end of the day, whether you like it or not. It's the way it's got to work.
But I never said that he didn't get credit for it.
You did.
No,
yes, you did. You said, and Levy.
I put it into context, Sean.
Hang on, mate. Hang on, dude.
No. I'm saying Daniel Levy doesn't get credit.
Let me say something. You said, Sean, Ange is responsible for that trophy win, not Daniel Levy.
Yeah,
that's what you said. They were the words out of your own mouth. If you want to go back and watch it back after the show, you can.
Yeah, I know what I said.
Okay, so then you gave the credit to the guy on the pitch, but whenever things go bad on the pitch, you give the criticism to the owner. That's a fallacy.
Always do.
That's a fallacy. You can't do it that way. It's not how it works, mate. It's not how it works.
When did I say that? When I never said that, Sean.
You said nothing's going to change. You said I don't care. You said, I don't care.
You're talking about the past, right? You're talking about the past, right? I'm talking about the next step in Spurs' future.
You said it 10 minutes ago, bro. You said when Conte was sacked, I said, I don't care who the manager is. It doesn't matter until the owner changes, right? And I said, the owner has changed by your logic, by your logic.
No. I'm talking about the owner changing.
Now you're saying I'm not listening. You're not listening. You're listening to a word I'm saying. By the logic that you said, nothing changes until the owner changes, right? The owner, by the logic of the buck stops at the top, which is when you allocate the failures on the pitch at the guy who's not playing football, but making the decisions of who he employs. By your logic, I don't subscribe to that logic. I personally think that people are paid a lot of fucking money to be experts at what they do. If you give it all of the accountability to the top, you are abdicating the responsibility of the people that are paid to be experts on the job. Yes, Daniel Levy gets the criticism for employing those people, but ultimately you still have to blame the people that are not doing their job here, and here. Otherwise, there is just no point in having any of them at all in any of our opinions. But by your logic, nothing changes until the owner changes. So by that logic, that all of the failures on the pitch are down to the owner. Then when the owner changes and we end up with a manager that probably should have been sacked but wasn't, which is completely abnormal to what he usually does, and then we end up with a trophy, then by the logic that you have employed, not me, you, then Daniel Levy is responsible for that trophy, which you said he wasn't and that Ange was.
No, I said he holds a little bit of responsibility. Of course, he's always going to hold responsibility, Sean. What are you not listening to? Right? The owner is going to hold responsibility when we win things, when we lose things,
not
when we do
responsible.
shit, when we do good.
Levy didn't
No. You're taking it out of context again. Listen to what I'm fucking saying. No. That's not my word. That's not my word. That's not my word. Right.
Literally,
I'm going to say it to you very, very slowly and very clearly, Sean. Right. For what Spurs fans want for the future, Daniel Levy has to change, regardless of what has happened in the past.
He has changed.
The past now. He has not shown us change yet. How?
He kept the manager that should have been sacked by not sacking the manager and by winning a trophy.
One thing you're saying, right? You're saying, so because he's done that, what, Daniel Levy's a regenerated man? He's completely changed. You're saying that? Are you literally basing Daniel Levy changing? Hold on. So I
can't handle this anymore.
You're telling me Daniel Levy has changed everything about what he wants us for Spurs, right? And his ambition. You're telling me just because he kept Ange and we don't know the reasons why he kept him in. You're telling me that?
But these are very similar situations. You've got Ange.
Only time will tell on that one. And same with Ange.
Well, there you go. So then why are we having this conversation in the first place?
Are you telling me that Ange has adapted totally because he played a second way in two
That's what I was just going to say.
So what we can only go by at the moment is go by the facts. And the fact at the moment shows that he has changed. In the long run, only time will tell. We can't predict the future. But that would also say with Ange. Yeah, and I don't think Ange has changed
for the long run.
Yeah, and I don't think Ange has changed for the long run either, and just done that to save his arse blatantly.
Yeah,
and
it's why I said, Dan. It's why I have said, Dan, that Ange changed to win the cup. He changed his way to win the cup, and I have said very clearly that Ange, I don't know, and I don't believe he will change if he's given the chance to manage Spurs next season.
So if Ange told Levy then that this season is done and dusted, like he says he did, and the only chance we've got of doing the cup, and Levy has sat back and shut up and let him do the cup, hasn't Levy adapted to it as well then?
Yeah, but for that period. That doesn't mean
all
for
we
the
have
long
to
term.
work on. That's all we have to work on.
So
I'm sitting here saying I don't believe Daniel Levy is going to keep being this changed guy.
On the sample size that we have, Danny, on the sample size that we have,
of course, Sean.
Okay, so then great. So then he is. So
this conversation is a meaningless conversation because until the summer window is closed, we don't know if Daniel Levy has changed properly.
These situations are so similar. Like Ange, the people that want Ange out are saying that at the very end he made a slight adjustment, and we don't believe that he's going to carry on that adjustment to next year. And what you're saying with Levy is that he's made a slight adjustment, but I don't believe. And both of you are going off of Levy out are saying the last 2 years, and you're saying from his tenure. So they're very similar situations in terms of both have adapted, but will they both continue? And that's we don't know about that.
But the fact is, at the moment, Ange adapted with 2 games to go, and the fact is, Levy has adapted over the past year to get us where we are. You can't deny that. It's a fact.
I never said I did deny it. I never disagreed with that. This is what I'm saying.
Dan, I didn't even
it's exactly what I've just said.
I was giving my point. Whether
you
they
move
do
your goalpost very much,
run,
Danny.
we shall see.
No, I haven't.
You have, mate.
Look,
you just haven't listened.
Oh, dude, I've heard you speak for the last 20 minutes.
You haven't listened. You haven't listened clearly enough. Then.
Okay, guys, we're going around in circles, and I do want to end the show in 3 or 4 minutes. I just want to say, Claudia, thank you. I've read your 15,000 comments where you're saying I'm not a Spurs fan, that I'm negative. Apparently, you know how much money I earn from this as well. So please be my accountant if that's the case, that you understand that I earn very good money from this. Claudia, I think you've got to realize that what my channel is built upon a show that likes to debate football. Yeah, if you want to tune in and see people just talking about winning the Europa League final over and over and over again, there are other channels doing that. You can do that. For me, there's a bigger picture. I want to talk football. I want to talk debates, but I am getting it's a bit tedious if you keep saying this. I've seen you do this the last few shows. I appreciate you watching me. Yeah. I haven't actually talked for about 25 minutes and you're still sitting in the chat calling me negative. So please either go somewhere else or just join in the chat with everyone else about the 2 people that are actually having a chat, not me. Guys, I don't want to go too late. I'm back at this at 10 a.m. So I don't want to go crazy. Listen, I think both have got good points. I think Sean is right in the sense of problem with the staunch Levy out people is it doesn't matter what he does. He's absolutely wrong. But Danny is also right, I would say. And the fact is, let's see if Levy has changed, show us an Eze, show us an Mbuemo, show us Leroy Sane, show us, do something different, break the wage barrier, get in some top players. Yep. I agree with both of you. But at the end of the day, Daniel Levy, for me, I need him to go back to being the Daniel Levy that sacks Ange Postecoglou. And there's your negative comment.
I think he's going to get sacked. I think he's going to get sacked. I genuinely think he's going to get sacked.
I think he's well. I think he will. Yeah, I know my silence is negative. I know. Guys, listen, 3 hours, 3 hours 20. I think it's been a great show. Just before we go, listen, George has said like and sub, please. Been a really good show. Yeah, I listen. Always get told we're an echo chamber. I think we've got a lot of different personalities with different opinions here. So big up to you, George. Thank you very much. And thanks for all the mods work that you do. Big up to Mr. Pox Office, who has said 24-25 equals the anomaly. That's not sustainable. Logic over semantics. League position has major repercussions. Need to act. RE manager can't procrastinate. Mr. Pox Office, I wish more people that are football fans would actually take away their emotion for 1 minute and actually understand this, that the league position does have huge repercussions on a football club. All of these people saying 15th and a trophy is fine will then be the same people asking why the chairman is not spending more money on wages when there's less money coming into the club. This is, again, Mr. Pox Office, is absolutely true. Then they'll be saying, why aren't we winning trophies? Well, because we're not bringing in players. So it's crazy. I completely agree with you. Big up to a user who said, can I just say, yesterday we saw PSG rip into a new one. To save us the pain and suffering, I think we should hand PSG the Super Cup and move on. A user, I think I speak for many Spurs fans when I say I watched them rip into Milan Open and thought, we've got to play this lot with Ange Postecoglou's high line. And that truly worried me. But big up to you. And then you've come in again. You're always very generous and said, Ange won a trophy. Levy took the gamble in keeping Ange. Listen, there's got to be, if there's going to be blame that's shared around, there's got to be praise that is shared around. I don't think it means that if I say something nice about Daniel Levy, it means I love him and want him to be here forever. But equally, if Daniel Levy starts buying people like Eze, whoever, like, then we've got to turn around and say, okay, thank you. But it can't be a one-time thing. It needs to be gradually every window. So big up to you, AUs. I really appreciate that. Guys, thank you very much. Good show.
Just one very last point. We can't forfeit the Super Cup. Lubo's already booked his flights.
Lubo, have you booked?
Yeah, we're just sorting out hotels now. But can I just make one point? Based on the metric that trophies equal success, last season, one trophy in 24 years, Levy had a success rate of 5.52%. As he's won the Europa, his success rate is now 8%. 8%. What CEO survives with 8% success rate? I rest my case. I've given Levy credit. There you go. I'm giving him credit for 8% of his tenure. What about
redirect straight over to Spurs Talk Show? We're going to go. Me, Danny, and Ian are going to go for another 2 hours. I'm going to tell them why they're absolutely mudded on that stat as well.
And Danny,
I've got to say to it, quick words.
Lubo, I'll say to you what I always say. If you're going to blame every one of those finals on Daniel Levy and not the manager doing their job and winning the trophy, then that is also disingenuous. Right? Daniel Levy did not lose a penalty shootout to Man United. Right? Daniel Levy did not get beaten by Blackburn when Glenn Hoddle did. Right? Daniel Levy needs to take the loss on the Ryan Mason one. That was ridiculous, but it's got to be fair. Guys,
and he didn't win the Europa League either.
One quick word I just want to say on that as well, and this is especially at you, Ian, yeah?
I want to go to bed.
He gambled the season, he gambled this, he gambled everything. Levy people complain Levy don't do it the Spurs way. He gambled everything. To dare is to do.
He did, didn't he?
To dare is to do. Daniel Levy. To dare.
This time next year we'll be billionaires.
Yeah.
Guys, if anyone does want to carry this on tomorrow, I'm live at 10. You can all have the link. You know that. I'm here at 10. I'm here for it. Maybe Danny will come in a little less angry. Who knows? Maybe he'll have a good night's sleep.
I'm not angry.
Go and have a wash, Danny. Get that mud off you before tomorrow morning. All right, bro?
Danny, you stormed
no mud
the show
whatsoever,
like
mate. I'm clean as anything. What's that?
You stormed the show like box office does.
Yeah.
No, box office makes more sense. Right, take care, everyone. And
you tell yourself that, Sav.
please subscribe to Luke. Please subscribe to Sean Butler. Please, Spurs Talk Show. Please subscribe to the Hotspur Hood for Danny. If you haven't subscribed to me, please do, as we're on the road to 19,000. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe, just maybe he'll be sacked. Take care, everyone. See you later. And as always, come on, you Spurs.